Hey everybody, you are tuning in to the Canary Cry News Talk live stream pre-stream. Thanks for being here. It's me, your buddy Basil. Yes, we're all here together. We're making it happen, folks. Well, let's see. Remember, you can go to CanaryCry.Party, especially if you're watching over on YouTube. You're going to want to choose an alternate platform to switch over to after the first third of the show. That's where you can catch all the too hot for YouTube content that will be coming in after the first break there. I want to remind everybody, go sign up for the newsletter. If you have not signed up for the newsletter, you're missing out on a bunch of good stuff, including being a part of our decentralization of our mainstream sources. If you're on the newsletter, you can check your email right now, and you'll see a wonderful little email with all the sources that we'll be using on this show, so you can follow along at home or save them for a strategic moment in your life when you need to bring them up with someone who respects and desires mainstream sources for all the crazy stuff you're telling them. It's a good idea to have that around. And you can go to CanaryCry.Party to sign up for the newsletter. While you're at it, this is an official public service announcement. Producership is at an all-time low today. So if you've never produced the show, you want to produce the show, you get value out of you get value out of the show. Trust me, you'll get value out of producing the show. Go to CanaryCry.com/support. That is not it. It's CanaryCryRadio.com/support. Or you can go to CanaryCry.Party. There's a producership option right there to make it happen. We are calling out to the producers to make this show happen. So if you haven't done it, or you haven't done it in a while, consider producing today. All right, everybody, here we go. We're going to get started. Stay hydrated. It's going to be a hot one.
The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy. You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. Today is May 16th, 2022. This is episode 485. We are live to tape, baby, and I'm logging on. Oh, today is Media Massacre Mind. That's right. Signing on from off the grid. Razzle dazzle. I'm your best buddy, Basil.
And my name is Gonz, your favorite Asian provocateur for Christ, a.k.a. the Cabana Boy, here to serve you a podcast that brings you the best news, which is the gospel message of Jesus Christ, while reporting the egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. And speaking of egregious world events, man, just
keep happening, man.
It's
one
crazy. After the other. I guess it's an election year or something. I don't know.
It's almost like it happens every time there's an election coming up. Yeah. So if you're wondering, of course, we're going to be checking in and diving deep into the gun control issues that have been popping up all weekend. There's some unexpected details there. Of course, Flippy will be making an appearance. And then an unusual yet valuable breakdown of what McDonald's is up to.
The Golden Arches.
The Golden Arches.
And their rituals.
That's right. Checking in with a four horsemen of the technocalypse we have not talked about too much recently. That's right. Jeff Bezos has been busy. And then after the first break, the Too Hot for YouTube segment, checking in. What is Fauci going to do, man? What is he going to do? COVID vaccine. And then
is he still around, Fauci? I thought he...
Can you believe it? The man just does not stop. And then the show will be ending with it'll feel so nice, folks. We've been talking a lot about Antarctica, but today we are finishing out the show with a Nephilim update. So stick around for the whole thing. You are not going to want to miss it, but we're going to start out with our lead stories.
Yes, we are.
Mind control weapons.
The race wars.
Race wars?
The race war. I've warned you and warned you and warned you.
Are you proposing taking away their guns?
Yes.
Enough prayers. Time for some action.
You want to take everyone's guns away.
Bingo. Enough
Yeah, time to take action, and action was taken.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yes.
ABC.
We've heard of a lot of action over the weekend.
ABCnews.go.com headline: Police, Buffalo gunman aimed to keep killing if he got away. Yeah. And the subtitle here: Buffalo's police commissioner says the white gunman accused of a racist rampage at a supermarket planned to keep killing people if he had escaped the scene. And sure, everybody knows. We don't have to read through every word, but it says here, the white gunman accused of massacring 10 black people in a racist rampage at a Buffalo supermarket planned to keep on killing if he'd escaped the scene, the police commissioner said Monday, as the possibility of federal hate crime or domestic terror charges loomed. And we'll get to more of that as well, some of the domestic terror standards that have been upgraded for such a criminal. The gunman who had crossed the state to target people at the Tops Friendly Market had talked about shooting up another store as well. Buffalo Police Commissioner Joseph Gramaglia told CNN, quote, he was going to get in his car and continue to drive down Jefferson Avenue and continue doing the same, the commissioner said. And this is the part, I don't know if there's any update on this, but the commissioner's account was similar to portions of a racist 180-page document purportedly written by Patron Gendron that said the assault was intended to terrorize all non-white, non-Christian people and get them to leave the country. Now, I think that is important, the non-Christian, because we've talked about the weaponization of Christianity and the evangelical weaponization in this country in the 30s, 40s, 50s, especially when it comes to fighting communism. And we are seeing the exact same thing happening right now. They are weaponizing evangelical Christianity, all that stuff, and making it about something it's not, which, you know, it's been sort of the tactic throughout history, but we're seeing it again here. Federal authorities were working to confirm the document's authenticity. Gendron, 18 years old, traveled about 200 miles from his home in Conklin, New York, to commit the attack, police said. Authorities said he wielded an AR-15 style rifle.
Oh, style. Okay.
Wore body armor and used a helmet camera to live stream the bloodbath on the internet.
Right.
He was arraigned on a murder charge over the weekend and pleaded not guilty. Federal prosecutors said they are contemplating hate crime charges. Then it talks about the former fire commissioner and some people from the community. And there's a part here. Let's see, the red flag regulation stuff. I know you got a bunch of headlines to sort of wade through some of it, but hold on. Let me get to the this New York Times article, which a lot of articles seem to be basing the information about the story from. And the New York Times article headline is Buffalo shooting. Suspect was held for mental health evaluation last year.
Yeah,
and of course,
classic story.
Yeah, a classic theme and pattern that we've noticed is that every time there is a shooting, especially when, you know, the narrative fits with a racially motivated type of killing, even if it's not, they'll say it is. They're usually, more often than not, the suspect had some kind of history. The intelligence agencies had knowledge of this person or contact with this person. And so, you know, of course, curious minds would wonder, well, what about this guy? Did this guy have a history, or was he on the radar, so to speak, with the FBI? Here's what it says in the article. The police said on Sunday that Mr. Gendron had been picked up at his high school last June by state police after making a threatening remark and had been taken to a hospital for a mental health evaluation. Always mental health issues, too, by the way. That's another pattern.
Yep.
Responding to a question for a class project about his post-graduation plans, Mr. Gendron said his involved a murder-suicide. A law enforcement official familiar with the case said. But Mr. Gendron described the remark as a joke, the official said. And after the evaluation, which lasted about a day and a half, he was only evaluated for a day and a half, he was released, according to Joseph Gramaglia, the Buffalo Police Commissioner. That account was confirmed by Special Agent Stephen Belongia of the FBI, who said that Mr. Gendron was, quote, not on the radar of federal authorities. So
sounded like he was on the radar.
I mean, the whole thing is like, oh yeah, we knew about him. He was taken into custody. We took him to a mental health thing. He was in there for a day or so. We let him out. And the FBI agent was like, yes, that is true. But he was not on our radar. Like, how do you know it's true if he wasn't on your radar, FBI guy?
Right.
Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
How are you confirming the story? Okay, anyway. So yeah, there you go. That's kind of the main sort of inquiring minds of people who question the narrative. And obviously, lives look like they were lost, and it's hard to say from across the country here, which we'll get to in a little bit. Another shooting that has some kind of geopolitical motives behind it. But these articles try to connect this whole thing to obviously a race-based thing and to what the FBI has set up for this, which is also in this New York Times article. I'll just read the paragraph here. Extremists motivated by racial and ethnic hatred are considered the most dangerous threat among domestic terrorists. After a spate of horrific shootings targeting people of color and Jews in 2019, the FBI elevated the threat to the highest level, meaning agents must prioritize developing confidential informants and take other steps to counter the violence. And a lot of times, I think that's what's going on. They are trying to create maybe under the guise of, we got to infiltrate, we got to keep an eye, we got to, make sure these people don't do mass killings or whatever. But it just seems so convenient that they're always connected in some way. And right. The one thing that's interesting with this particular take from the FBI guy is that, most people are skeptical whenever there is a connection. So the FBI PR guy comes out and says, like, yes, the story's true about him getting taken into custody in a mental health evaluation last year, but he was not on our radar, as if to say, don't consider that because you guys are conspiracy theorists.
Well, that's been their problem. That's been their problem over the past, few election cycles. And you'll notice that these big spates of shootings, racially motivated shootings, pretty much entirely happen during election time. Yeah. The last time we saw a big one like this was in 2020, where there was all sorts of racially motivated action going on there. Of course, we had the summer of the Black Lives Matter, George Floyd movement. Mm-hmm. One other thing that really has been an interesting trend that we've seen recently is they are all troubled, mentally ill young men. They're all young men. I mean, they're all between the age of 18 and like 22 or something like that. Yeah, and they've all had a past. They've all been on the radar. And I think that's the FBI's problem, is that they're realizing that it doesn't help them to say, yes, we've been watching this guy for years.
Right. Before it was kind of like, the FBI have been on it. Now it's like, why?
It was
why
a data, right. It was a data point of like, see, he is guilty because the FBI have been watching him.
Right.
But after so many of them, people are finally, on the left, the right, it doesn't matter. They're like,
people are skeptical.
You've been looking at these guys and you're letting them do the thing. What is wrong with you? And of course, here we are painfully aware of the cycle that the FBI has been caught in time and time again, which is they actually participate in the planning and the prodding and the equipping of different quote unquote domestic terrorists to follow through with sometimes plans that the FBI themselves created for them. Most recently, the quote unquote kidnapping plot for Gretchen Whitmer, which turns out there was more FBI people planning and executing than there were, domestic terrorists. Yeah. So I think this little statement of like, oh no, he wasn't on our radar. We don't know who this kid is, even though
we can confirm that he was taken into custody and was mentally evaluated for a day and a half last year in June.
Right, which is a strangely short amount of time to be mentally evaluated. Yeah. And also, I don't know, what kind of medications was this kid on? What kind of everything was this
what kind of Full Metal Jacket eye-opening, video mind control stuff was given to him to be triggered enough to go do this?
And, he allegedly posted a 180-page manifesto that, hilariously, there's been some analysts who have gone through it, were pretty much just copied and pasted from other
Manifestos.
Manifestos. Yeah, I guess there were full sections of the manifesto that were just copied and pasted from the Christchurch.
See, I was going to say, the Christchurch thing came to mind, the New Zealand shooting, which was also live streamed, right, on Facebook.
Yeah. And had stuff written on his gun. This guy allegedly had names of the Waukesha incident, the victims of the Waukesha incident.
Right, because Biden didn't go, and
there's a lot of that. And of course, the Waukesha incident was a black man driving an SUV through a crowd of white people, and he explicitly said this is racially motivated, and it just didn't get reported that way, even though it was on his statement for the thing. And that is being used as like, see, he's a bitter white man. He's a bitter white man, and this is what bitter white young men do.
When they are radicalized by the media.
Right. Now, there is some different stuff going on with this one, Gonz, and I find it interesting. This is what we do. We're news analysis and deconstruction. We're tracking the trends and analyzing how this is being rolled out, as opposed to how previous shootings have been rolled out. Now, first of all, I will say these things never happen. There's never just one. There's always multiple. Yeah. And you get the first one that comes in hard and strong for sort of the racist narrative. And then kind of the ones that follow get a little bit more complicated and tend to get ignored, which you'll bring us an example of that at the end of this. But let me roll through some headlines here, and we can kind of point out how this is different. I'm going to start out with this Rolling Stone article. Of course, Rolling Stone, notoriously like just straight up lying institution, making up stories.
Used to be a cool mag about rock stars.
Now they just literally invent stories and get people to spread them. And yet here they are. Okay, so the article is headlined, "The Buffalo Shooter Isn't a Lone Wolf. He's a mainstream Republican."
Oh, brother.
So Lone Wolf.
he's
right. So there's lone wolf. We've seen this lone wolf narrative go unchallenged for many years when it comes to these guys. They're always described as a lone wolf. And when we say, on this show, when we say, no, there's no such thing as a lone wolf, he wasn't a lone wolf, we're talking about, the aid that they got
the
from
FBI that helped them pull it off.
Lone wolf used to be a really helpful term that would take the heat off of the involvement by the FBI or whatever government
any group, really.
Right.
They're just acting on their own crazy.
Right. There's a crazy racist. But no, Rolling Stone, the Buffalo Shooter isn't a lone wolf. He's a mainstream Republican. And I'll just give you the first paragraph.
The first paragraph is the best. I love it.
It's pretty much all there is you need to hear. "There's no such thing as a lone wolf." Oh, there's no such thing as a lone wolf.
Wow.
So we've gone from, no, this guy wasn't a lone wolf, to there's no such thing as a lone wolf.
Between the headline and the first paragraph.
Exactly.
A lot has changed.
This is great. I mean, we can both agree on that, us and the Rolling Stone. There's no such thing as a lone wolf. An appellation often given in error to terrorists who act alone, particularly those of the white supremacist variety. There are only those people who, fed a steady diet of violent propaganda and stochastic terror, take annihilatory rhetoric to its logical conclusion. Now, that's a bunch of big words, folks, but what he's saying, or what they're saying here, is that there is no lone wolf. There is someone who absorbs all of the propaganda from wherever they're getting it. Maybe it's online, maybe it's the news. Of course,
Tucker
Fox
Carlson.
News is all. Yeah. They are all called out in this article. But the point is, no. There's no such thing as a lone wolf. He is a product of all the propaganda they are fed, which again is a very interesting thing for Rolling Stone to be saying as a participant in the mainstream that continually sort of praises violence by one certain group while, obviously pointing out the problems with the violent rhetoric of another side, which, look, we don't have the time to break down into the whole thing here, but the entire article is about there's no such thing about a lone wolf. They are all supported by ecosystems and networks of propaganda and violent rhetoric. The mainstream news, they're talking about Fox and Tucker and stuff like that, but also 4chan and whatever, video games and blah, blah, blah. So this really sort of, they're taking a holistic view at the lone wolf person. And their whole point is, no, this guy is not a lone crazy man. This is just a regular Republican. This is what a regular Republican looks like. And they point out all the reasons why they think that is the case. So, of course, coming up to the midterms here, we have the identification of every Republican and, racist domestic terrorists, which we've seen in more sort of allegorical terms in the media in the past. But this is just a straight up, like, 1-to-1, no metaphor, no allegory, 1-to-1. A regular Republican is equal to a racist,
unbelievable,
crazy
man.
kid.
There's a lot of crazy in this article, but it wraps with the Republican Party caters chiefly now to those who claim that to be born the wrong color is an act of genocide, an act with appropriate fervor. There has never been a lone wolf when it comes to racist terror in the U.S. It suffuses every aspect of our politics and policy, and in latter years, the mass howl of fear at change comes from a jaw that drips with blood. As long as we fail to recognize the wellspring of racial animus that animates the right wing in this country, the corpses will continue to accrue.
Exactly.
Like,
If we don't destroy the conservative idea, then the corpses will continue to pile up. Rolling Stone says.
Literally, if a Democrat, like a hardcore Democrat, was reading this, they'd be like, "Oh my gosh, we have to continue to vote. Like, we got to get our Democrats in there because if we get the Republicans in there, they're just going to shoot all the black people."
Well, that is exactly what they want you to believe. I mean, it's extremely powerful
so crazy,
rhetoric,
man.
And in the way
Rolling
Stone. And this person, hold on, this author,
right off a cliff, Talia Lavin.
Yes, go check out her Twitter page here.
Great.
Because actually, I forgot to bring this to the. To the show, but she's got a very interesting presence on
Looks
Twitter.
like this is her only article on Rolling Stone.
Yeah, exactly. Isn't that strange?
That is strange.
It may be her first and only thing she's ever put on Rolling Stone.
Big. Maybe that's why it was so, over the top. Maybe she wanted to grab the attention of the editors over there at Rolling Stone.
Yeah, well, you look at, it's just
we
an
could write
interesting
something like this in satire, send it to Rolling Stone, and they might get all stoked about it,
as long as it pushes the correct ideology, then you can get anything on Rolling Stone. Apparently, you can
probably get in trouble for something like that later, though.
Yeah, she wrote a book called Culture Warlords, so she's very adept at this idea of the sort of combat culture,
right.
The culture of combat or whatever. So she's got a new book, so she's gonna get some new articles out there.
Fantastic.
And her profile page, she's like holding a big sword, standing in some sort of urban background. She's wearing a garbage bag. She's making a very firm statement here. Okay. So back to the narrative building. So there's no such thing as a lone wolf. Every Republican is a domestic terrorist. Now let's head on over to Huffington Post. Huffington Post has an article, State Senator who backs white nationalism suggests Buffalo shooting was a false flag. And now again,
so weird, man.
We see the false flag coming into the mainstream. False flag used to be, simply just the word for, I don't know, folks.
Like a misdirection.
The fringy folks talking about how it's a misdirection. It doesn't necessarily mean that it didn't happen. It's that, there's some sort of purpose for it. The story being told is not
desired consequence.
Right.
Events, yeah.
But, that's not what it means in this article, of course.
Oh.
A Republican state lawmaker with ties to white nationalists suggested. And at this point,
when tied to white nationalists,
I know,
If you're white, are you tied to white nationalists?
Well, exactly. No, it's because she's a Republican.
Oh, that's it.
Maybe she voted for Trump or something. Okay. So it's ties to white nationalists. But you don't actually need those details because it doesn't matter if you're a HuffPost reader. A Republican state lawmaker with ties to white nationalists suggested the racially motivated mass shooting at a Buffalo, New York supermarket was staged by government agents. So, staged by government.
That's different from.
It's different, isn't it? Now, listen to this. This is a quote. Quote, Fed boy summer has started in Buffalo. Arizona State Senator Wendy Rogers wrote on Telegram. The first-term lawmaker has built a national profile among far-right extremists with incendiary rhetoric, diehard support for former President Donald Trump, and an embrace of white nationalism. Authorities said an 18-year-old gunman traveled, and they give kind of the background here, except they do say something that other articles don't, which was 13 people were shot, 10 died. Most were black.
I read that it was 10 who died were all black, eight were black, 2 were not, and then there was 2 more who were shot who were not black or something like that.
Yeah, I know. The numbers are pretty sketchy, but it's hard to get. But the accused killer left behind a manifesto riddled with racist views and references to the Great Replacement conspiracy
theory. Not the Great Reset, the Great Replacement.
No. Okay. The Great Replacement, that white Americans are being replaced by people of color, according to the New York Times. Now, this is, I'll get more into the Great Replacement here in a second, but this is what's getting most of the attention with this whole event. It's like the memo went out and every single mainstream outlet has an article regarding the Great Replacement and just exactly how this makes, every Republican a domestic terrorist. So anyways, we're talking about this person what is her name? Wendy Rogers on a Telegram channel saying Fed boy summer has started in Buffalo. And that right there is the quote that they are using to tie into this false flag narrative. Now, remember, false flag is a term that until very recently, until like 2021, until last year, was entirely ignored by the mainstream, was pretty much only used online for, narrative skeptics to wonder what's really going on. And then we suddenly started seeing it pop up all the time. Popped up with recent shootings. It's been popping up with January 6th in the mainstream, where once they would entirely ignore the phrase, now they are using it even when it's not being used by the person that they are accusing.
Right.
And in this case,
Biden saying was the big moment. We were like, Biden, it was like false flag. It was like, whoa, Biden talking about false flags.
Russia and Ukraine. They were talking about false flags in Russia in the Russia and Ukraine thing.
Misusing the phrase too, by the way, from President Biden.
Just drop off. I just dropped off.
No, I was just saying that Biden misusing the phrase, but
and that's the point. Yeah. Right. So Wendy Rogers on a Telegram channel said Fed boy summer has started in Buffalo, and uninvited, the Huffington Post puts the term false flag in their headline when it was not even the phrase used by Wendy Rogers. So again, we have sort of the shoehorning of this, I would call this almost a dog whistle, this term dog whistle that's become so popular since Trump was in office. I believe that this false flag term is turning in a little bit into its own dog whistle, and I would say primarily for the left at this point.
Yeah.
Now, we're going to move on. That's just kind of a data point there. We've got Lone Wolf, we've got Lone Wolf and false flag, and now Great Replacement. We're heading over to Vice. of course. And the headline here is Buffalo shooters' racist great replacement theory has been mainstreamed by GOP. And this is really the pinnacle of what I believe, this current news cycle is aimed at doing. Let me read some of the article. The alleged white supremacist who slaughtered 10 people at Buffalo, New York, grocery store on Saturday was inspired by the racist great replacement theory, one that's been tweaked and adopted by a significant number of Republican lawmakers and candidates in recent months. And there's the key. Okay, they're saying the great replacement theory, which, if you don't know, is this, let me just read it. Vice will tell us what they think it is. The alleged murderer specifically cited extremist white supremacist websites in his manifesto, saying he was radicalized on 8chan and came across the theory on neo-Nazi sites like the Daily Stormer. But the views he espoused aren't far removed by those pushed by some mainstream Republicans and conservative news outlets. And there's the key right there. Aren't far removed by those pushed by some. I was going to say
earlier, it mentioned a theory, one that's been tweaked and adopted by the Republican lawmaker. Tweaked and adopted.
So on one hand, they're admitting that, these GOP mainstreamers don't believe in the great replacement theory.
Right.
But it's, it isn't far removed, and yet it is removed. And
it's very removed,
has been tweaked and adopted.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when you look at the timeline, the rest will be apparent. The Great Replacement Theory claims that a cabal of global elites, in many versions Jews, want open borders to allow an invasion of non-white immigrants to replace white native-born citizens and outbreed the native population. The slightly sanitized Republican version swaps out global elites and Jews for Democrats. Instead of claiming, I know,
that's not too wrong there. I don't think necessarily.
Careful now. Instead of claiming the goal is full population replacement, some Republicans argue that the Democrats' goal is to encourage immigrants to storm the country, give them citizenship, and change the electorate so Republicans can never win again. So they're referring to the idea that Democrats want to make illegal immigration less illegal and more prevalent, and give them sanctuary. You got the sanctuary cities, you got the sanctuary states, you've got certain states that allow driver's licenses, things like this. This sort of loosening of the rules for illegal immigrants, it's being the theory that, hey, the Democrats let you in, the Democrats give you your driver's license, and so vote Democrat. And that's the idea, is that they would then vote Democrat, because in Democrat states, you're not going to, they're trying to make it so that you don't need a identification to vote. It's racist to ask for an ID for somebody to vote, things like that. And so we're all familiar with kind of the 30,000 foot view of the, part of the Democrat, quote unquote, Democrat plan to get more voters in across the border. Let me continue. Upstate New York Representative Elise Stefanik, the third-ranking member of the House GOP, has faced the most criticism since the shooting. A series of paid Facebook ads her campaign ran last fall, that explicitly used great replacement theory rhetoric. Quote, radical Democrats are planning their most aggressive move yet, a permanent election insurrection, read one of the ads. Quote, their plan to, so far doesn't seem like a great replacement thing, but okay. Quote, their plan to grant amnesty to 11 million illegal immigrants will overthrow our current electorate and create a permanent liberal majority in Washington. But she's far from alone. A bevy of Republican candidates, and it goes on and on. So you get the point. The commonly held, theory about the Democrats' policies towards immigration is that, you let in more people, and if it's the Democrats that let them in, they're going to vote Democrat. And so, seems to be a pretty legit theory. Well, this theory is now being connected to the Great Replacement, where it's now no longer about, politics. It's about race, which, to the Democrats' credit, they are very good at making things not about politics, but about race. And so the long story short on this one is that it's been a perfectly timed midterm election season series of events and a perfectly executed mainstream news narrative to build the idea that you just can't vote for a Republican. Voting for any Republican is a vote for racist shooters. And I think it's going very good. And on top of that, you head over to the LA Times here. Article headline, a new generation of white supremacist killer, shedding blood with internet winks, memes, and live streams. Bored during the early days of the pandemic, Peyton Gundren logged on to the 4chan message board website to browse ironic memes and infographics that spread the idea that white race is going extinct. He was then soon lurking on the web's even more sinister fringes, scrolling through extremist and neo. And it's this storyline about how the lack of government controls on the internet and the content that exists on the internet is needs to be taken under control. And that's the reason why we have white supremacist fascists and neo-Nazis and stuff like that. It's because the internet is not as controlled. So in addition to the narrative that we've seen so far,
propaganda rooster says
propaganda hello. Rooster. So you see the coverage of this news cycle literally tapping into every single aspect of the Democrat election podium
this
here.
The internet thing is a pushback against maybe Elon's recent free speech soapbox when it comes to the purchasing of Twitter, right? So
exactly right. Yes. So this internet control-based Los Angeles Times article is specifically sort of targeted at, well, if you don't want more racist shooters, then you can't allow free speech. You can't let Elon buy Twitter. So it continues that battleground as well. Right. It's just very excellently, perfectly executed orchestra, almost like a ballet of a news cycle,
right?
From beginning to end.
They're so quick to get to all these conclusions.
It's almost as if it was, It's almost as if it was they had thought about it beforehand.
Yeah. So there's a few interesting things to point out. Of course, this is more of a side note, but maybe something to keep in mind. There were 10 black people who were killed in this event. And I don't know. Oh, man. Fox ad block, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Well, the story here from Fox News is Pope Francis declares 10 new saints patron saint of journalism. Which
what?
Yeah. Well, there's one out of the 10, I think, is the patron saint. But hold on, let me try to get around this little ad thing.
Oh, you gotta get in there.
I know.
You did 10. What's the timing on this? Did this happen just this weekend?
Yeah. So Pope Francis declares 10 new saints. First post-pandemic canonization ceremony. Among the 10 new saints is Titus Brandsma, a Dutch priest and journalist who was killed in a Nazi concentration camp in 1942. The others included 18th century Indian convert known as Davashaim, as well as 4 priests and 4 nuns who founded religious orders in Europe, according to AP. So it's only one of them, Titus Brandsma. But yes,
but he's the patron saint of journalism.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, gnarly. we gotta make some medallions and sell these to journalists.
And I just thought the timing of it and the number 10 being sort of a canonizing 10 people in the Catholic Church, and then the 10 dead from the shooting. I don't know. There's some weird symbolic stuff going on there. We have this Kamala clip. You want to hear what Kamala had to say about the whole thing?
I always.
Okay, here she is. A little noisy.
It's horrendous. It's horrendous. In our country, we have to recognize that we may very well be experiencing epidemic of hate towards so many Americans that is wrong. It is taking on a level of violence in the case of what happened in Buffalo, and
what happened?
Seen it in other places in our country, and we all must speak out against it. Hate against any one of us, we should interpret it as being hate against all of us as a nation. We are a nation that prides ourselves on our diversity as an element of our strength. And to see what has happened yesterday, an 86-year-old grandmother who had just been taking care of her husband in a nursing home, was just going to get some groceries. A security guard who had dedicated his life as a law enforcement officer and was known in the community to be one of the kindest, most gentle people who showed extraordinary heroism. I think we all have to know that this is something that we have to not only speak about, but we've got to do everything in our power as a nation to stop it. Stop it. There's too much at stake that we should be working at and thinking about. Not hating one another.
We shouldn't be thinking about hating one another. An epidemic of hate. You know, the context of putting just this real general hate as synonymous with some kind of virus that needs to be taken care of, that can spread around.
But also so specifically pointed at, of course, Republicans.
Yeah, well, yes, of course.
Not the fact that, you know, you've got people threatening the Supreme Court justices, going to their homes, making death threats, things
hate.
like that.
That's fighting for justice.
Yeah, where's the hate rhetoric for that one? I don't know. It's weird. I mean,
choice.
You have Psaki saying like, "Hey, now nobody hurt the justices, okay?" But there's no like, "Hey, you should stop hating the justices."
Well, it's not hate, man. It's not hate if it's for a righteous reason. So anyway, this is, I think, the direction that this is headed, and there's a little wrinkle. Now, things happen around my neighborhood. I'm in a pretty dense populated area, Southern California, but this happened very close to me. I mean, I'm a little uncomfortable. I mean, I drove past this area this morning to get where I am today. Los Angeles Times: Churchgoers tackled hogtied gunman after deadly Laguna Woods church shooting. And by the way, notice that there's that religious Christian undertone. Point it out at the beginning of the Buffalo shooter. You know, the Buffalo thing is weird too, like as far as location, because it's New York. Then you got the football team, Buffalo Bills. Then you can think about Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs. You know,
right.
There's all kinds of weird sort of connections you can make there. But this happened on Sunday. A gunman attacked a lunch banquet at a Taiwanese church in Laguna Woods, killing one person and wounding 5 others Sunday before congregants tackled him, hogtied him with an extension cord, and grabbed his 2 weapons, authorities said.
Hey, okay.
So, not going to get the kind of national attention because of the Buffalo shooter. And also the guy was taken down.
They got him. No, it's not newsworthy if you know, citizens protect themselves.
And he's a 60-year-old or Asian man in his 60s. So, you know, and then, you know, the report is about how the churchgoers there, which many of them are veterans, showed heroism and bravery in the eye of evil and that kind of stuff. But you know, I told you, Basil, about this, and I said, you know, I get the feeling that this has something to do with the China-Taiwan.
Yeah, because there's a Taiwanese church, right?
Yeah, it's a Taiwanese church here in Orange County. And literally, while we are getting this show ready, ABC News: deadly church shooting motivated by Taiwan-Chinese conflict. Police say. It was on ABC just, I don't know, maybe an hour ago.
I can vouch for you.
Yeah, I called it, man.
You were talking about it. You had a whole thing planned.
Stop listening to my Skype calls.
And then
ABC.
right when we're starting the show, they break that's exactly what it was about. So do we know, was this man Chinese? Do we know? What's the deal?
Okay, so let me read what they say here. The FBI has opened a federal hate opened a federal hate crimes investigation into the shooting. Thanks, FBI. And there's the shooting occurred during a lunch banquet.
So we have some Asian on Asian crime here.
Yes, and a microcosm.
That's quite rare, actually.
Yeah. And it says here, quote, "The Presbytery of Los Ranchos is deeply saddened by a fatal shooting that occurred at a lunch reception honoring a former pastor of the Taiwanese congregation that nests at Geneva Presbyterian Church in Laguna Woods. Tom Kramer, Presbytery head of staff, said in a statement Sunday, 'Please keep the leadership of the Taiwanese congregation and Geneva in your prayers as they care for those who traumatized by the shooting. China has long held that Taiwan is part of its country, while Taiwan governs itself as an independent nation dating back to when Chinese nationalist leader Chiang Kai-shek fled the mainland as the Chinese Communist Party came to power in 1949. The shooting was reported at about 1:26 p.m. That's all they tell you about this thing.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, well, is the guy Chinese or what? I mean, literally, they have nothing on it, which leads me to believe. I go back to you guys are listening in on my calls and thinking, "Oh, that's right. Yeah, there's that angle right there." And then
they don't lay out. They don't lay out any of the evidence or any of the reasons why they think that this is
it's a Taiwanese
racially
church.
Motivated.
Yeah, it's a Taiwanese church, and
no mention that the guy is Chinese. It seems like it would only make sense if the shooter was Chinese.
Right. Well, yeah. There's nothing on it so far.
Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. I think you're. The suspect was identified Monday in Orange County jail records as 68-year-old Las Vegas resident David Chou, Chou, which I don't know. Oh, it says it here. Chou is Chinese, but an American.
There it is.
But an American citizen. Official said they must have updated this article.
That's how it works.
He lived alone in Las Vegas and has a wife and a child who are not living in the U.S. Again, man, there's just something weird about just these random.
Yeah, that is very bizarre. You've got to, and yeah, I mean, but there's no way to use that story in the narrative that would help out the Democrats in any way. But we're not going to hear about it.
We're not going to hear about it.
And you're not going to get a lot. You don't have a dozen articles from the same dozen mainstream outlets talking about whatever. I mean, I don't even know how to spin that to help the Democrats. So of course they're not going to. I mean,
if anything, it kind of helps Republicans because
exactly
this is sort of look at the Chinese takeover. You thought the Chinese takeover wasn't real. Well, look at this Taiwanese, This has to be, at the very least, some kind of precursor. I mean, just the narrative construction here from ABC, getting in on early on the Taiwan-China conflict, because I feel like they know where that's going eventually here. So, so there's that. And
there was also the I'm just going to mention it real quick because somebody mentioned it in the chat here. This is coming from FoxNews.com, of course. Headline: Milwaukee shooting near Bucks Celtics game leaves 17 wounded and 10 in custody.
Oh my gosh!
So we've got another shooting. This happened on the 14th, I believe.
Okay.
10 people have been taken into custody after 17 were shot in Milwaukee Friday evening near the Bucks Celtics basketball game. Police said Saturday 9 firearms were recovered from the scene after dozens were seen fleeing. Milwaukee police said, quote, everybody started running. Witness Brittany Bergstrom, who was at a nearby restaurant, told Fox 6 in Milwaukee, quote, there was a stampede, people running over the shrubs, hats, shoes on the grounds, drinks spilled everywhere. She said her boyfriend pulled her behind a brick wall, quote, and if he wouldn't have, this outcome would be a lot different. And that's all I know. And everybody took off running, and I just kept running. This happened 2 days ago now, and that's all there is to the story.
Saturday
we don't
night.
know. Yeah, we don't know who was this. I mean, 10 people getting arrested, 17 people getting shot. I mean, that sounds like gang violence to me. It's a group of people. There's a lot of guns, 9 guns, 10 people, but no details. No details. Just this one woman who was eating at a restaurant who hid behind a brick wall.
Yeah, man. And then I see that you can make the connection because of the NBA and the China ties. You can make that connection that this has something to do with that as well. And also, there was a shooting in Brooklyn a couple weeks ago, right before an NBA game. Remember? There was like a shooting. Was that a subway thing? That might have been a subway bomb or something.
There's the
right?
weird subway bomb that we haven't heard about since. So
anyway, a lot of weird stuff going on.
But you can see which shootings are helpful for the narrative, which ones get reported on, which ones get reported on from a number of different angles as they hold up the diamond that is this shooting, this racially motivated shooting. They twist and turn the diamond in the light and let the different facets fall upon the public mind. And yet there's all these other shootings. No information whatsoever, no analysis, no breakdown, no coverage, no quote from Biden, no comment from Kamala, no nothing.
Well, we want to hear from Justice Clarence Thomas, who really just, I
would love it. I'd love to hear from this man.
He's at the pinnacle of the race wars, Basil. He's a black man in the U.S. Supreme Court.
A conservative black man in the Supreme Court.
The liberal minds will explode. All right, here's what he says about the mainstream media.
One of the things I say in response to the media is when they talk about, or especially early on, about the way I did my job, I said, I will absolutely leave the court when I do my job as poorly as you do yours. And that was meant as a compliment, really.
Oh, the tag.
I think we've neglected this side of the room.
Oh, gosh.
All the way over here, yes.
What a funny guy.
It really is good to be me. It really is.
Hey, there you go.
Very quick.
Guy's got a good attitude considering all the heat his wife has got now.
Yeah, I know. I like his laid-back style.
Yeah, she's taking it easy. Good for him.
He's not
all right,
about
Gonz. We need to move on.
Okay, yeah, we're way behind today.
Yeah, it's okay. We'll catch up.
What day is it? Monday. Gary, what day is it? Monday.
That's right. It's Monday, folks. We're starting off the week, and it is promising to be a full one. So, well, you got anything? Any updates in your world there, Gonzo?
No, other than my entire neighborhood was outside last night looking at the super flower blood moon.
Oh, right. And yeah, you didn't make it to Antarctica for the viewing, huh?
No, didn't need to. We could do it right outside of our house, and I mean, people were sitting on lawn chairs and looking up, and it was a whole thing. There was a moment right before it started to really turn dark.
Yeah,
it's very bizarre because you really can see the spherical nature of the moon, but also it's weird that it doesn't spin. You know what I mean? It's just like bizarre when you're looking at it. You're like, it does not look like. And there's
chilling
people
there, man.
Well, there's people talking, in the crowds of my neighbors, and they're, somebody pulled up a thing. Oh, it's about 250,000 miles away. It's kind of manageable. I can wrap my head around that. And I'm looking up, going, is that really 250,000 miles away? I don't know, man.
But it's a long trip, man.
I don't know. But what do I know? I'm just a man in this petri dish.
Just a man.
Figure out what's going on. But yeah,
looking
at
a moon. No, nothing really. Just feeding the chickens, man.
All right.
Feeding the chickens. I will reveal another type of animal that I do have here out on the compound.
Yeah, make sure it's legal.
It's illegal.
We don't need any PETA people or...
No. Well, I mean, PETA probably won't like it because I got some bunnies, man.
Oh.
I got some little bunnies hopping around. I got 3 bunnies, 2 females, 1 male.
Bunnies? I know a guy.
You know a bunny guy?
I know a bunny guy, yeah.
Am I your bunny guy?
No, you're my second bunny guy. Maybe I can hook you
got
guys
another
up.
bunny guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, hook me up with your bunny guy, man. Yeah, the plan is, if the meat starts getting too expensive, just start cranking out these bunnies.
More protein per
Basil's
pound.
Basil's Bunny Emporium. Yeah. I don't know what the going rate for a pound of bunny flesh is, but we'll see.
We'll see
how it goes. It could be an exit strategy if things go really south with the podcast.
There's more protein per square inch.
Yeah, I love these little bunnies, though, man. I go just sit out with those bunnies. I feed them some kale, feed them some scraps. They're so cute. And originally, I was thinking, hey, okay, someday I'm going to eat these bunnies, so I just need to take it easy. No, these 3 bunnies I am now very attached to, but they're my production bunnies. You're
going to eat their babies.
They're my friends, and they make me the food bunnies. So we'll take it from there. That's my update. And with that, folks, me and these bunnies got this value for value model going on, and that's also how we keep this show going. So here at the top of the show, we do want to thank some executive producers.
Executive producers.
That's right. Value for value. If you get value out of the show, you're responsible for putting some value back in. It's the only way that it works. And it's not for nothing. We just don't want to be wrapped up in the corporate trap of advertising dollars. If we start taking corporate money, that means we're going to have to start, wiggling under the thumb of corporate interests and corporate profit motive, which have made a true art out of subtly manipulating your psychology into convincing you into spending money you don't have on things you don't need. And that's just not our business around here. We're corporate, mainstream corporate news analysis and deconstruction, not advertising. So if you appreciate that and you get any value out of the show, go ahead and head on over to patreon.com/CCNT, or even better, CanaryCryRadio.com/support.
Canary Cry Radio.
CanaryCryRadio.com/support. That's right. And it was a little bit scary. It still is a little bit scary, Gonz, this model of ours. We rely on not just the Lord, mainly the Lord, but also the generosity and participation of our listeners and producers. Up until about a minute ago, we did not have an executive producer, but thank God for Dame Lynn, Lady of the Lakes.
Dame Lynn, thank you so much. And actually, Dame Lynn sent a note about her own experience with a rooster, and she actually has a thing called a rooster rod that you might want to look into, Basil.
Oh, a rooster rod. Okay, yeah. Does that keep the rooster at bay when he wants to propagandize me?
Yes, or walk into your house and walk out of your house.
Oh, he does want to do that a lot.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what.
She's got some tips for you.
Thank you very much, executive producer Dame Lynn, Lady of the Lakes, for coming in, saving the show. We'll be thanking you again in our first break. And if you're out there, it is not too late to produce the show. It is one of those low production days, producership days, rather. So today is a great day to get demooched if you've never produced the show. Or if you want to come in and help carry the load for the executive producership with Dame Lynn, you are totally welcome to do that. Again, CanaryCryRadio.com/support. Okay.
Lynn.
Where'd you find this?
Let's make sure to get that in there.
Good. Amen. All right, let's go check up on Flippy.
Flippy
update.
Do you want fries with that?
Nope.
That's right. Flippy is our colloquial name for the disembodied robot arms that are taking our jobs, enslaving our children, and flirting with our spouses. We talk about Flippy in order to explore all the new, fun, and exciting ways that robots are taking over the world and just how there's nothing we can do about it. Today's Flippy update comes from the Denver Post, and the headline, Gonz, I love that this is in Denver, Colorado. Ever heard of it? Hippies. The headline is Denver yoga classes taught by a robot? ? It's not a stretch. I love jokes and headlines, man. It looks like a scene from the old futuristic cartoon, The Jetsons. Denver Post, no, it doesn't. Please just stop. Stop while you're ahead, okay? In a room in the engineering building on a cool April morning on the University of Denver's campus, a robot is teaching yoga and meditation to a few folks in their 60s and 70s. Real people, not cartoons. And the robot, yes, he's real too. All too real. He's called Ryan.
We've come full circle from the beginning of Canary Cry News Talk.
Circle, Ryan.
We talked about Ryan on the first episode, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we'll talk. Yeah, I recently, folks, just listened to the very first episode of Canary Cry News Talk back in 2016 or whatever, and I was astounded to be reminded that on our very first News Talk episode, we spent like half the show talking about Ryan Lochte for some
Olympic
reason.
swimmer.
The Olympic swimmer.
You know, and you mentioned that to me, and I told you that things were a little more chill in 2016. Apparently,
it was a different time.
When the news was Ryan Lochte gets in trouble at the Olympics for being mean.
Ryan Lochte was mean. Oh goodness gracious, Gonz, we need to devote half our show to this guy.
Our first episode ever.
Yeah, my gosh. All right, I can't believe we are where we are.
Yeah, long way.
Yes. He's real, too. All too real. He's called Ryan, which means little king, illustrious, or smart.
Ooh.
In a soft, soothing male voice, Ryan said, quote, "Now reach your arms out in front of you." At the same time, Ryan slowly raises his arms. His students seem to like him. Quote, "He's got the bluest eyes. He's really good, and his movements are interesting. They're a good contrast to the meditation," said Barbara Kreisman, 72, one of Ryan's pupils. The class is part of a...
Ryan's pupils?
Yes, he's got pupils. He's a master. He's a yoga master. The class is part of a study by DU's School of Engineering and Graduate School of Professional Psychology to see if socially assistive robots can improve range of motion, mindful attention, skills, and general well-being for those aged 65 and older. In essence, Ryan is in training to become a kind of super social worker. Dr. Mohammed...
Super social worker.
Dr. Mohammed H. Mahour, a DU engineering professor and owner of Dreamface Technologies, the Denver-based startup that built Ryan, said the robot has been helping people who suffer from Alzheimer's and other cognitive disabilities at several Denver area assisted living centers since 2016. Quote, overall, the seniors felt the robot helped them maintain their schedule and improve their mood and stimulated them mentally. Mahour said, Ryan is loaded with this Ryan right here is loaded with artificial intelligence. He's loaded. It allows him to start and maintain conversations, respond to questions, and make facial expressions, track movement, and even recognize emotions by observing facial expressions. And it goes on. He's got a screen. Yeah.
There's a photo. Yeah. So Ryan is like he's got kind of a humanoid body, but he's doesn't have legs. He's got 4 wheels.
He looks like a toy. It looks like a kind of toyish.
Yeah, and kind of like a head thing, but the face is a screen. The one I'm looking at here, the picture, his face is all pink. I don't know if he's like being silly or embarrassed or something like that. But
yeah, he's blushing. Yeah, he's blushing because Barbara was hitting on him. Oh, you're so good and strong, Ryan. Oh, if I was just a robot and 30 years younger. So. This Flippy update fits into the trend that we've been seeing of robots really doing the work that, it's, in my opinion, that humans should be doing. I mean, taking care of the elderly.
Yeah, that's a true human connection.
Yeah, job. You really, if you're an older person and you're in some sort of care, you really need a human being. Like there's something about a human being there. And the idea that, robots are getting better and better at I say dealing with, because that's what it seems like the attitude is. Like
it is.
We need, robots are, this is part of the Flippy update, is we're constantly reading the PR about how robots are going to make our lives better, do the monotonous work to allow us to do truly important work, do the dangerous work so that we don't put people's lives in danger. And so the combination of they're either doing the monotonous work we don't want to do or the dangerous work that we shouldn't be doing or whatever. To be talking about it in the caretaking role for the elderly is really sad and says a lot about society, where it's like, no, we just get a robot to take care of the elderly so we can do the more important work of whatever that might be.
You know what country has really modeled this for us, again, is Japan. Japan,
of course,
robots were robot companionship in hospitals and stuff. It's been a thing for, I don't know, 20 years or something.
Yeah, a long time.
I mean, they are, and not only is there a depopulation of the younger generation, but yeah, they have that attitude of like, it's so inconvenient to have to take care of the elderly. That whole cultural honor system of taking care of your family and parents and stuff, grandparents, it's gone, really. And not entirely. Obviously, there's pockets of people still taking care of their family, but as a whole, culturally, it just seems like it has disappeared. But
yeah, and it's really, it's really sad. Here's another part of the article. This was a quote, I believe, from the same guy, and he said that this is from Sean Mapole, the principal investigator for the study at DU, said he has no doubt that socially assistive robots will have a role to play in assisted living facilities. Quote, "We'll absolutely see them in these facilities this year, next year, and certainly in the next 5 years, and their role will be growing. That's because the technology is there, but also because there's a shortage of health workers. There are not enough caregivers to have yoga classes or to even have conversations with adults on a daily basis. And those are two roles that Ryan can fulfill." You are in Denver, Colorado, Sean.
At a university.
You are in Denver, Colorado. Do not for a second think I believe you that you are lacking in yoga instructors. Denver, Colorado, the mecca of American yoga instructors. You can't just get some, student yoga instructors into your facility. You must replace them with the robots. It's just really sad.
Plus yoga. Yoga being...
this robot does not do yoga. The robot lifts his arms and puts arms down. He doesn't even have legs.
That's what I'm saying. How could this robot teach yoga when all it's doing is two mechanical movements with that? I mean, you're not doing the down. I'm not picturing this robot doing the downward dog.
It's not really doing
getting low
nothing.
in the position. I mean, that's when we're really going to have issues, I guess.
It's arms up, arms down.
We should be happy that Ryan doesn't have the capability to really lean into some of those moves, some of those positions.
Gonz, you cannot walk down the sidewalk in Denver, Colorado without accidentally taking a yoga class with some young yoga instructor.
I thought I was here to get a sandwich.
Yes, you order a coffee and suddenly you are in a yoga class. You blink and you're in a yoga class. Anyways, there you go. So and another part about this, in our long history of tracking Flippy, Sean is saying, hey, it's happening right now. This is happening now. This is not in the future. I mean, we'll continually see them improve and be more and more present in our old folks' facilities, but they are there now. This is not something in the future.
And as part of the pandemic, and I was kind of listening back in on the very first pandemic special, which was back in March of 2020, when we started this format of the show. And we were reporting on how the story at the time was China coming out using robots for everything, where humans, can't because they're dirty and virus and And we made the point that this is going to be an accelerating thing for machines and robots to take over, especially in hospital settings and stuff. And it didn't take a genius to figure that out, but here we are seeing more and more of it, and also building that cultural sort of sentiment that, hey, if the robot's going to take care of them, then we don't. In the context of, a pandemic, a lockdown, everyone's, especially the elderly, they're isolated. Why don't you give them Ryan? So
Just
they got
give them a robot. Give them a robot.
Someone to talk to.
If anybody out there, seriously, if you go to Denver, Colorado, be careful where you stop and bend down and tie your shoes, because you'll be down there tying your shoes and you'll feel somebody's hand on your back. Just go, yes, good, breathe. Breathe in and out. All right. That's your Flippy update for the day, everybody.
All right. Go to CanaryCry.Party. Put it in your URL. Find the live stream clips, email list, text notifications, street team posters, show notes, ways to connect with other Canarians, and how to become a producer of the show.
That's right. And while you're at it, you'll see a link there for the Ravel podcast. Ravel is a podcast I do with Dr. Christopher Ryan Gates. He's a PhD in biblical interpretation. Very smart guy. And the podcast that just dropped yesterday, that's right, it's the one we talked to a metaverse pastor. It's this Stuart McPherson from Lakeland.Church, and they have a very robust virtual reality ministry going on there. And so very excited. Go check it out. I mean, you'll see, man. I don't know how much to say and how much not to say. Gonz listened to it, so if Gonz listens to it, you should listen to it. I certainly got my opportunity to make lots of my concerns and the concerns of others known. And you'll just have to judge for yourself what the deal is. So go check it out. Ravel on all your podcast players, except for Stitcher for some reason. RAVEL. There's 2 Ravel podcasts. The other one explicitly stole our name and then bragged about it. And then, but ours is the one with the cool logo and my name on it. Ravel podcast. Go listen to it.
I listened to this most recent episode, and I found myself screaming at my podcast player.
Yeah. See?
I'm yelling.
Do you want to yell?
You.
You want to yell like Gonz yelled? Yes.
What
Go
are you
enjoy.
doing?
No, stop it.
Question.
Oh, stop it. Jeez Louise. Okay, go check it out, folks. Also, while you're at it, go to Canary Cry Clips on YouTube. Canary Cry Clips. We clip out the whole show segment by segment. You can review the information, share the shorter clips. It is a great way, just to help other people come in contact with the show. We're on YouTube and Odyssey. Go subscribe to Canary Cry Clips. Just search it. And then other than that, if you want text alerts to know when the show is going live, text the word Canary to 877-740-3226. That's the word Canary to 877-740-3226. Thank you very much.
B H8 3 11. Repeat. B H8 3 11.
Russia, 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 Russia.
I'm hungry.
Now you are cooking. Can I get 2 hamburgers?
Yes, sir.
With French fries?
Yes, sir.
What about an omelet?
Sure. Got a couple eggs.
I like food. Food is good. I like food. Food is good.
This girl must be practicing witchcraft.
What a collection. What a collection of jingles for an exciting segment, Gonz.
We're going to start off with Reuters.com. Headline. McDonald's to exit Russia after more than 3 decades. No longer. The Golden Arches will no longer be in Russia.
That doesn't bode well. Does not bode well for the Russia-Ukraine conflict.
Yeah. The world's largest burger chain had in March decided to close its 847 restaurants in the country. Hold on. Oh, February was the invasion. Okay. I was like, wait a minute. Were they closing this before the whole war broke out? But no. Okay. So this is March.
There was
847 restaurants in the country.
That is so many restaurants.
Opening in 1990, the store was a symbol of flourishing American capitalism in the dying embers of the Soviet Union. More than 5,000 people had attended the opening. No. America's here. You know, it's funny. They're kind of doing that in Ukraine right now. They're doing the same sort of thing where American corporations kind of move in
moving in. We
had Bono, do his little concert in the tunnels and stuff. So yeah, they're all doing that.
We need to homogenize the culture. We can't let them just have their own culture now.
Right. Let's see. There's a quote here. It is impossible to ignore the humanitarian crisis caused by the war in Ukraine, and it is possible to imagine the golden arches representing the same hope and promise that led us to enter the Russian market 32 years ago, Chief Executive Officer Chris Kempczynski said in a letter to employees. So, all right, yeah, we get it that McDonald's moving out of Russia. That's a big move for one of the biggest food corporations out there. Mm-hmm. But what do we get? Is there some kind of celebration here? Is there a promotion here? Well, according to the USA Today, who was mirroring some kind of food blog, the headline, McDonald's, actually this is USA Today, McDonald's deal for Mercury retrograde, how to get a free McChicken or McDouble Tuesday, Wednesday. How do we do it? Let me tell you right now.
What do all these things have to do with each other?
McDonald's is preparing for this week's celestial and astrological change of Mercury retrograde with both a deal and tarot card readings.
Oh, tarot. Okay, they're just leaning in hard here.
Here's the cancer burger and a reading on how you're going to die.
Look, if I were like an astrology guy and a sort of hip pop occultist and read tarot and was like into this kind of stuff, this would be the most.
No, you froze.
Horrifying moment.
Okay, you didn't freeze.
Did I freeze?
It sounded like you did, but you made sense, so maybe.
Yeah. So, because you got to consider the type of people who are like astrology buffs and tarot people. They're sort of, they consider themselves, what's the word? Countercultural,
Right.
They're countercultural. They're kind of punk rock. They don't listen to the Christian mainstream man. I'm tapping into the occult powers of the universe and whatever. And then McDonald's comes around and throws a celebration of your super cool countercultural lifestyle. This is horrific. If you are a sort of true occultist.
Yeah, it's
or maybe not. Maybe this
not. This is the moment.
Maybe this is very sort of powerful. I mean, you could consider the golden arches getting behind your belief system. That in a certain sort of chaos magic way could be like that could be a come up for these people.
Yeah, this is their breakthrough. This is their mainstreaming moment. The fast food chain will have a 2-day deal, Tuesday and Wednesday, in time for the start of retrograde. Get a free McChicken or McDouble with the purchase of medium fries exclusively in the McDonald's app at participating locations nationwide. What? The Golden Arches is also teaming up with tarot card reader and astrology expert, Madam Adam. Madam Adam.
Mm-hmm. Okay, is this like a trans person?
I don't know. But Adam meaning man and Madam meaning a woman. So yeah. To offer so what is Madam Adam doing? To offer select fans McDonald's inspired readings on Tuesday. Now, what is a McDonald's inspired
inspired
what
reading?
What in the world are they doing over there? And why? If I was Putin, I'd be like, thank you for getting out of our country with your crazy tarot card reading burgers that give cancer.
The biggest sort of corporate, I don't know, the death dealers, just disgusting, opulent example of how wrong things can go in the corporate world. Sponsoring their corporately themed tarot readings.
And listen to this. McDonald's said in a statement that for a chance to get a reading, starting Monday, that's today, fans need to comment with their name and zodiac sign on Madam Adam's TikTok and Instagram posts announcing the Mercury retrograde deal. Oh, so make sure you let the Chinese... the CCP know your zodiac sign, and then McDonald's will give you a reading. It's very
that
simple.
Is quite the data harvesting opportunity, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm only finding Madam Adam as a band. Hold on, I'm going to follow some links here. Oh gosh, it's taking me to TikTok. Okay, no, it's a guy. Okay, this is a guy on TikTok, and he is just an entire grid of him doing tarot readings. All right. He's a TikTok tarot guy.
What is going on in these boardrooms, these marketing boardrooms? McDonald's like, we got to tap into that TikTok trend. Oh, I know. Check out this guy. He's pretty awesome with his tarot readings.
This is bizarre.
What is going on?
Wow, what? Those are some big moves wow, this guy is a full-on brand, man. He is wow. Okay, I'm just going to keep saying he. I think that's right. So his bio, he's got 1.5 million followers, 16 million likes. I have no other. This is his bio, all caps. I have no other accounts. So I guess lots of people trying to snag
imitate
his
him.
Yeah. Professional tarot reader, public speaker, Site One. I don't know what that means. Oh, site, and it's an arrow. Okay, so he's got a website. Okay, I'm on his website. Yeah, okay, all right. This is his thing. This is who he is. Wow. Well, good for him getting that McDonald's money, baby. You think he saw that in his own tarot reading?
Oh yeah, maybe that's what it was. I knew you were
he flips
come.
over.
I got the
flips
arch,
over one
or two arches.
Right, he flips over one card. It's the death card. Ooh, scary. Flips over another card. Oh, but it's a cheeseburger card. Okay, who makes the death cheeseburger? Oh, it might be. Flips over the next card. It's just a big stack of Benjamins, baby. You knew it was coming. All right.
This made me wonder though, because of the West-East, the multipolar sort of defragmentation of the current system. You know, there's some repiping going on with the world stage and the Great Reset and all that kind of stuff. And, typically in the West here in America, we've considered the U.S. to be the bastion of free democratic society and free to practice your religion. And that includes Christianity. And a lot of it is based on the Judeo-Christian values and stuff like that. But based on how Christianity is being weaponized in the U.S., as we kind of touched on at the beginning of the show today, I am wondering if a part of the world that will be more safe for Christians in the near term or something like that during all this Great Reset stuff, dare I say this, I'm wondering out loud, I'm not saying that it will be a place like Russia where there's a Greek Orthodox presence. I'm not saying that they're not corrupt or something like that, but just, there's more of a traditional, long-standing religious history there. So I don't know. I mean, that would be a weird thing to consider, but, just asking questions.
Well, there was Putin's...
the relic thing with the sinking boat.
Sure, there is that. But there was also, Putin's rhetoric about cleansing his country, getting all the Western, what was the actual words he used? Sympathizers. He wanted to purge the country of Western sympathizers. Mm-hmm. Everybody thought he was talking about oligarchs. I'm sure there's a McDonald's oligarch. I mean, there has to be a Russian guy who's kind of at the top of the pyramid when it comes to...
The Russian McDonald's guy was kicked out.
Yeah. So,
he's mad, I mean, so he's like, we're gonna hex you, Putin.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine a world, some strange alternate universe where McDonald's runs a promotion like, "Hey, this Pentecost, come on down to McDonald's and baby." We'll fill you with the Holy Spirit. We got Joel Osteen. He's going to be at McDonald's, and he'll pray for you after you get your free McChicken. Free prayers down here.
Joel the robot preacher will preach. It's a Joel Osteen clone.
I would be that would, as a Christian man, that would drive me. That would make me question a lot of things if suddenly McDonald's was like actively promoting Christianity.
Oh, McDonald's, right? Okay, I'm getting a little history lesson here. McDonald's was in 1996 claimed to be bigger than Jesus Christ. So, I guess that's all you need to know.
Really? Wait, McDonald's claimed that?
I think so. It says here...
Didn't John Lennon say that about the Beatles?
John Lennon did say that about the Beatles, but it says here, Ronald McDonald is more famous than Jesus if the latest research is to be believed. The trademark... This is an article from 1995. Mm-hmm. The trademark symbol for Shell and McDonald's are more globally recognizable than the Christian cross, according to research conducted for the International Olympic Committee.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. That does make sense.
So...
I'm reading about this Mercury in retrograde thing, and it's all kind of gobbledygook to me. Do you know what this means? Do you know
I didn't really. Some astrological alignment.
Yeah, it's an astrology thing.
By the way, last night during the super, what is it, the Pretty Flower Super Moon Blood, whatever it was called.
Super Flower Blood
left
moon.
my brain already. If you look what celestial object it was in front of when it started to happen, was actually Libra and the scales.
The scales.
Yeah,
okay.
so the scales are tipping, maybe, you know.
Okay, astrology Gonz.
No. I know.
Is there a cheeseburger? They really need to see if this is a really good. Okay, we can't waste more time on this. We're still at the top of the show, but if you talk about the corporate homogenization of culture, what better thing to do than to sort of align yourself with the sort of most widely accepted secular, occult practice, which is astrology. I mean, that's a good corporate move. I'll give you that much.
You know what's interesting too? In the last,
keep this in mind if you know any podcasts that do McDonald's commercials.
Right. In the last 10 years, I would say, maybe more, but definitely in the last 10 years, we've seen the sort of lost my train of thought. Shoot.
Oh, nuts. Nuts.
You had said something just a moment ago about
Mercury in retrograde. We're talking cheeseburger astrologies. I don't know which awesome thing I said.
I got it. Okay. So we've seen how occultism was sort of peddled by the influencers of culture, with
witch talk.
And that has the target of that was always the poorer communities or like the lowly peasants who think of these celebrities as like gods kind of. And this is sort of the same thing if you think about the target audience of McDonald's. It's your lower income people, right? And so give them a spirituality, right? And it's kind of like a sneaky way to be like, we're just having fun with the astrology thing, but in reality, it's really introducing a whole class of citizens to a spiritual practice that they may not even come across.
They probably come across it, but it's sort of a tertiary thing in their lives.
Right.
They know it exists, and there's the memes and jokes that like, if a girl asks you your birthday, it means she's going to run your chart or whatever. Right. But to actually have it front and center in a full marketing campaign from one of the biggest corporations in the world is a big get. It's a big get for tarot and astrology. Yeah, I'm reading this Mercury in retrograde thing. It doesn't seem... it seems like my entire life has been Mercury in retrograde. Basically, nothing goes as planned. So during Mercury retrograde, things typically don't go as planned. And it talks about losing your ATM card and you're missing a plane and blah, blah, blah. That's the bad part, okay? All these things can go wrong. The good part is it gives you an opportunity to undertake deep internal reviews.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so... everything in your life will go wrong, but you can really sit there and think about your life and all the choices that have brought you to this.
Your life will bottom out. It's a good chance to reflect on your pathetic life decisions.
Yeah, I think that's anywho.
You
there
know
you
who
go.
Didn't make pathetic life decisions?
Ronald McDonald.
No, that guy definitely did. No, I'm talking about Jeff Bezos.
The four horsemen of the technopolis. Anytime you see the four horsemen, it's something special.
Mr. Bezos, man. All right, so we've been talking about the flippening happening here, and as part of the flippening, there's been kind of a revealing of some of the sentiments of the technocratic oligarchs of the U.S., Jeff Bezos being one of them.
Ah, yes.
And on May 13th, that was last Friday, Jeff Bezos quote tweeted Joe Biden. Joe Biden's tweet said here, you want to bring down inflation? This is a big move. You want to bring down inflation? Let's make sure the wealthiest corporations pay for some.
Right. This was actually an important quote. I could not help but comment on it. Yes, he was saying, if we want to lower inflation, again, Biden's superpower here is blaming everybody but himself for the problems he creates. And first it was the Republicans, then it was Putin, and then it was the Republicans again, and then it was whatever, Elon. And in this one, he said, if we want to fix inflation, we got to get corporations to pay taxes. Mm-hmm. It's like, I can't tell if you don't know what inflation means or what taxes are. 'Cause I really cannot
I think
tell.
it's both. And Bezos sort of touches on that. Bezos retweets Joe Biden and says, the newly created disinformation board should review this tweet. Or maybe they need to form a new non sequitur board instead. Ooh, burn.
Honestly, the best tweet Jeff Bezos has ever done. I mean,
know.
It's exactly right.
I've never felt so close to the man. Like, what did you listen to our show? What is going on? Raising corp taxes is fine to discuss. Taming inflation is critical to discuss. Mushing them together is just misdirection.
Yeah.
You know,
wow.
My whole sort of reaction to this was, man, when we have an American technocratic oligarch making more economic sense than our president, that's where we're at today in this country.
Yeah,
which is not a great place to be.
You know what's interesting is sort of the power that is derived from both of them comes from misdirection, economic misdirection.
Yeah.
You know, economic misdirection is sort of the trick that both of them need to play on the public, and to have them sort of, it's like a battle of magicians.
Right.
Like, who can trick the people more? It's like they're, you know, some weird Harry Potter battle they're having.
But,
here.
you know, Jeff Bezos, the technocratic oligarchs, the tech oligarchs, as I would like to call them.
Sure. You've never called them that, but okay.
I will start to call them that from now on, the tech oligarchs. They probably have a better feel for sentiment, public sentiment. The data that they receive and collect and whatever are probably better in terms of more accurate than what
the
Biden is getting.
The emperors of data, the magical merchants of data would have way better info on the public sentiment than the president would, which uses archaic phone polling from Washington, D.C. So, yeah, I would trust Bezos's data way before.
Which speaks to the possibility of why we're seeing all these tech oligarchs move in the more conservative stance on things.
They are moving that way, aren't they? We've seen it with Elon, and we're seeing it with Bezos now.
There was a little bit of a back and forth. Bezos continued on. In fact, and this is retweeting a neoliberal Twitter account here. And Jeff Bezos says, in fact, the administration tried to inject even more stimulus into an already overheated inflationary economy, and only Manchin saved them from themselves. Inflation is a regressive tax that most hurts the least affluent. Misdirection doesn't help the country. Which is like, oh my gosh, why is Bezos speaking truth about the economic issues of our country?
I can't even help it. Like even the rhetoric of misdirection. I mean, that is a magician's term.
It is. It is.
He's given away the game.
I know.
Bezos.
Well, we're starting to see it very transparently. And then Yahoo reported or mirrored the Insider headline: the White House fires back at Jeff Bezos, saying it doesn't require a huge leap to understand why he opposed an economic agenda that taxes the super rich.
Wow.
So doubling down on the
They're
Biden.
just getting into it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, this, whoa. Just the talking points on that. White House criticized Bezos. Spokesperson said it didn't require a huge leap to understand why Bezos resisted tax hikes. Bezos lambasted the White House for pushing a plan he said would worsen inflation. And then
I think this is, I don't know why. I think this feels a bit disingenuous, or it feels about something else.
Yes.
You know, we've seen Bezos sort of battle the government recently, throw some tantrums that he doesn't get the contracts for for government contracts.
Stuff. Right.
There's the issues. Well, there's also the issues with Amazon unionizing recently. Right. and the anti-unionization efforts that Jeff Bezos is in sort of practicing right now. Mm-hmm. And then you have the Biden sort of union excitement. He considers himself a union guy. He's a union guy. And they said that they would not do any business. They would not give any government contracts to companies that are participating in union busting. So there's a big campaign to get Biden to drop Amazon for a lot of government contracts. The problem is that with a lot of these government contracts, and some of them are military contracts, some of them are intelligence contracts. There's a bunch of secret stuff that Bezos is doing for the government. But you've got a bunch of social justice warriors telling Biden that he's too friendly with Bezos. Maybe this is all just sort of, again, in the sort of milieu of magicians. Mm-hmm. It's like a misdirection. Kayfabe. Yeah, it's a kayfabe. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. All right. Sorry to ramble.
No, it's all right. Yeah, good points. It says here, Bezos criticized President Joe Biden's administration for trying to pass a social and climate spending package once known as Build Back Better.
Once known.
Then the Bloomberg UK headline here, Larry Summers sides with Biden in Twitter spat with Jeff Bezos. So again,
now,
picking sides.
Is this Joe Biden's personal account? Or is this
the first tweet,
presidential account?
I think it's at Joe Bidden. So yes, it's his personal account.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah, that does make a difference, by the way.
Yeah, it does.
So yes. So anyway, so we got the government firing back at Bezos. Now Bezos responds again here. I love that Jeff Bezos took a screenshot from an article that says, here's a screenshot. Let me just read the screenshot first. Whoa, why is it so big? It says, quote, it doesn't require a huge leap to figure, it's the quote from the guy, the full quote. It doesn't require a huge leap to figure out why one of the wealthiest individuals on earth opposes an economic agenda for the middle class that cuts some of the biggest costs families face, fights inflation for the long haul, and adds to the historic deficit reduction the president is achieving by asking what?
Deficit
reduction. Yeah, okay. By asking the richest taxpayers and corporations to pay their fair share. It's also unsurprising that this tweet comes after the president met with labor organizers, including Amazon employees.
By the way, that deficit reduction is another magic trick.
It's a misdirection, yeah.
Misdirection, yeah. Because people, when they hear deficit reduction, they'll probably think the national debt
national debt's going down, right. That's not it.
But that's not what that is. Deficit just means he plans on spending less money than the previous budget. It just means he made the budget smaller.
Yeah.
Which is a conservative thing to do. It is not a liberal Democrat socialist thing to do to limit spending.
Yeah.
He's just asking for less money for the national budget. At the same time,
we're historic president slashing
$50 billion
slashing.
Right.
So Bezos responds to this quote, and he says, and this is a tweet, "Look, a squirrel. This is the White House's statement about my recent tweets. They understandably want to muddy the topic. They know inflation hurts the neediest the most, but unions aren't causing inflation, and neither are wealthy people. Remember, the administration tried," it goes on, "their best to add another $3.5 trillion to federal spending. They failed, but if they had succeeded, inflation would be even higher than it is today, and inflation today is at a 40-year high." So, and it's very fascinating because, as you said, sort of this staged thing, the economic warfare, when you move towards hyperinflation, these billionaires are losing purchasing power by them and by large scale too, because they have a lot more money. They have a lot more capital and, investments and all that kind of stuff, assets.
Yeah. So they're 8% inflation, which is a conservative number.
It's way more than that. But
which is an 8% inflationary thing for a billionaire. It's like he's losing billions of dollars.
Yeah. But yes, exactly. Yeah. I mean, something that costs $1, $8. That's crazy for us, but for them, they're literally losing that purchasing power. So of course they're going to at least make it look like they're fighting for the other side or trying to retain or maintain their power with their wealth. So yeah, I don't know. It's just very interesting to see people take sides on these issues.
Well, what I love about it is Elon Bezos, the techno oligarchs.
Yeah.
They love taking liberal stances on things when times are good.
Right.
But when times start getting tight, they immediately reveal. They take off their virtue signaling mask and reveal themselves
when it affects the bottom line. If it goes negative, if it's moving down, a certain policy. If it's all up and up, then great.
And Biden's the same way. I said, these policies that he is enacting and bragging about lowering the deficit, which is kind of a silly thing to brag about. It's all a very sort of conservative mindset.
Yeah.
So the pendulum is swinging very hard and fast,
aggressively swinging to the other side.
Speaking of.
Beat you to it.
Thank you. It wasn't going to be good. That's right, folks. We're going to take a quick break, but don't go anywhere because after the break, we're going to be talking about COVID and Fauci and all the stuff that's too hot for YouTube. So YouTubers, get ready to pop over to another outlet there. But we're going to take a second, thank some of our producers. That's right. I said producers because we're on the value for value model, baby. That means that we don't take any corporate money whatsoever. No advertisements, no affiliate codes, no partnerships. No nothing, which is an interesting way to live life. But, for me, growing up as a pastor's kid for so long, it kind of feels right. Feels like it's more important to rely on the Lord and the generosity he puts on people's hearts rather than, taking money from corporations to subtly psychologically manipulate you into spending money you don't have on things you don't need, all in the name of, personal profit. Because that's the alternative. You say, what is the alternative to, us doing a break and thanking producers and doing the value for value model? The alternative is Gonz and I answering a bunch of emails from advertiser invitations that we continue to get and saying, yeah, sure,
no,
we will.
No. It's worse than that.
We'll take everybody's trust and attention that they put in us to be, to have integrity about separating ourselves from the will of corporations, and we're not going to package up your time and attention and sell it off to corporations, all this kind of stuff for our personal gain. I mean, we could. But we wouldn't last. Just our hearts wouldn't feel good about it, and the show would dissolve. So,
can you imagine if we had to do like a demooching, and it was like, "Hey, demooching brought to you by the Double McChicken Sandwich."
Yeah, well, exactly. They'd be like, hey, everybody, that's right. Thank the Lord. Well, here we go. Our first sponsor for the day is McDonald's. That's right. Everybody subsume obey the golden arches and let it suck the soul right out of you as you get a free McDonald's cheeseburger this Wednesday, and let old Madam Adam take your tarot cards. And okay, amen. Let's keep on moving, folks. No, that's not what we do around here. It's simple. If you get any value out of what we do, and it could come in different forms. Do we keep you company at work? Do we keep you sane on the drive home? Do we bring news stories and trends to your attention that maybe you haven't heard of before? Do we give analysis and deconstruction that you're not getting from your other outlets, news outlets, podcasts, whatever? Do we bring any value to your life? And if we do, just know that the only way that value can continue to flow is if producers continue to put value back in. And I say it all the time, but I'll say it again. Not every single person needs to produce every single episode, but as long as people are being responsible and they're being honest about the value that they get from the show and produce when they can in the amount that they can, the show can keep going. And that's what we're doing now. Gonz, are you ready to thank some producers?
Ready.
Okay, there's a couple ways you guys can become producers, and you can do it right now still. You can head on over to patreon.com/CCNT for Canary Cry News Talk, or you could go to CanaryCryRadio.com/support.
CanaryCryRadio.com/support.
That's right, and we're starting out with some executive producers. That's right. The executive producers are very special. We love to give them the credit they deserve because they go a long way to carrying the heavy load, especially when times are unstable or, unknown and producing the show is not a possibility for a lot of people. It's the executive producers that come in, keep the show going, carry the load. It's a family affair around here. And I'd like to thank her one more time, and that is executive producer Dame Lynn, Lady of the Lakes.
Thank you, Dame Lynn.
Where'd you find this?
Always answering the call when the time calls for it. Dame Lynn comes in for a total of 127.77. Yeah, that is it. Thank you very much. Dame Lynn, Lady of the Lakes, has a note here as well. The note says, title says it all. Dame Lynn, Lady of the Lakes, God bless your work, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dame Lynn, Lady of the Lakes. Help out my Lakers. They're struggling.
She's got other things to take care of. Let's talk about the supply drop.
Supply drop.
That's right, CanaryCry.Supply.com. Go there, explore the beauty of the supply drop. It's really an opportunity for us to put value back into the producers' lives who commit to producing the show for $33.33 a month. That's right, 4 times a year we send out the Canary Cry Supply Drop, which is a package filled with custom, awesome things created by the producers of the show, designed by the artists, made here right in the United States. And right now we're running a fun little promotion. The Canary Cry Multiverse Communications Codex ARG podcast companion is running right now. You may hear strange transmissions coming through the airwaves during the show here and there. And the supply droppers are taking that info, solving the clues. They're on a whole adventure right now that, unfortunately, if you're not a supply dropper, you're just not aware of. But you can join the adventure right now if you sign up to become a Canary Cry supply dropper. We'll send you out that ARG. We'll send you the booklet, the codex, and you can start playing right along with everybody else. It's CanaryCry.Supply.com. And we have one new supply dropper, Gonz, who has the codex coming in the mail right now. That is new supply dropper, Jesse S.
Thank you, Jesse S.
That's
Appreciate
right.
it.
Thank you very much, Jesse S. Signing up for the $33.33 a month plus fees. And yes, I've let the people know. I've let Isaac know, and we've got a little gift coming straight to you, Jesse S. All right, so go check it out, folks. CanaryCry.Supply.com. Sign up. It really helps us out. It keeps the show going. The supply droppers have carried us through many hard times since we started the program through their support. And oh my gosh, we have started putting together some samples for the next supply drop. And it's going to be good, folks. You're not going to want to miss next supply drop. And this month, the end of this month is the cutoff. If you want to get the supply drop for Q2, you have got to sign up by the 31st. That's only 2 weeks away. So go to CanaryCry.Supply.com, sign up. Okay. And with that gone, we've got some more producers we're going to thank, and I'm going to thank them right now. And I don't
just call me Gone?
No.
Sound like you said, hey, Gone.
Out of all the things that I've called you, all of the horrible things that I've called you over the years, that one should not get your attention. All right, starting off with producer Morv on a 91 episode streak. Thank you very much. That's right. Morph came in with the 1111, 91 episodes. Thank you very much, Morph. Next up, we've got producer Natalie C. coming in with 1111 plus
Natalie
fees.
C. Thank you.
And a note here. Thank you for the many giggles, including your brotherly bickering. I get so much out of your podcast. Thank you. Well, thank you, Natalie C, for coming in.
See, she likes it when I yell at you.
Yeah, everybody likes it. Thanks, Natalie C.
Thanks, Natalie.
Next up, get that trigger finger ready because we've got Sir James Knight and Servant of the Lion of Judah coming in with 1111 on an 88 episode streak.
Flawless victory.
That's right. Thank you very much, Sir James Knight, Servant of the Lion of Judah. 88 episodes in a row, just trucking along.
Did it.
Yep. Next up, we've got Puddin 22. Puddin 2022.
Whoa.
Okay, on a 2-episode streak.
Okay.
Yeah, she's on a streak.
Women rule.
1111 plus fees. Yeah.
Oh, 1111. Yes.
Yeah.
1111.
And a note, hi, Basil and Gonz. What day is it, meow?
Gary, what day is it? Monday.
Praying you are all doing well. I'm feeling perfectly fine. And once again, enjoying my summer porch napping routine while it lasts. The lull before the storm. But God, meow, meow, meow. Puddin 2022. Thank you very much. Feline producer, Puddin 2022.
Thank you very much.
Right, next up, we got Michael B. coming in with 1111.
1111.
Thank you, Michael B.
There you go. Next up, we got producer bot, Alex Protocol V2 on a 32 episode streak.
32. Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Comes in with a pocket full of sevens twice plus fees, and he says, "What day is it?"
Oh, L.
Hey, hey.
Gary, what day is it? Monday.
Sorry, I glitched.
It's okay. Keep praying for all those struggling due to these crazy Biden policies. Only God can truly heal our nation. Amen. Thank you, producer bot.
Thank you.
And that does it. That concludes the list of producers who came in the amount of a pocket full of sevens or more, which entitles them to have a note read on the show. But we got a couple more people to thank, starting with Sir Casey the Shield Knight with 156 episodes in a row.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Wait, no. Come on. Come on. The streak. There we go.
The streak. Ooh.
Yeah. Best thing on 2 feet.
Yeah, thank you, Sir Casey. Next up, following right behind him, we got Sir Scott, Knight of Truth, with 146 episodes in a row.
Thank you, Sir Scott.
Mm-hmm. Next up, we've got the Streak Sisters, starting with Veronica D with 121 episodes.
Veronica D, 121. Why am I having issues with... Oh, here we go. All right. Sorry about that.
Next up, we got the other Streak Sister. That's Gail M with 121 episodes.
Thank you to the Streak Sisters.
Okay, indeed. Oopsies. There we go. We got, last but not least, we got producer Jackie U coming in with 61 episodes.
Jackie U, 61. My goodness.
Just keeps going. And I'm just doing a quick refresh, but I believe that concludes the list of financial producers who chipped in, banded together, and or kept their streak going to make sure that this episode is possible. Thank you to all of our financial producers. Thanks for your patronage.
Shut up and take my money.
Thank you for your patronage. Thank you for your patronage. Thank you for your patronage.
Please leave a message after the tone.
your message.
Leave a message. Beep.
Message.
Go to CanaryCry.Newstalk.com, and over there you can leave us a message. You'll see a green tab on the bottom or the right side. Click on that. Another button will appear. Say whatever you want, and you are giving us permission to play it on the show, but it is not guaranteed. Do we have any messages, Gonz?
Yeah, we got one from Laura C.
Hello. How you going? I just have a question about the whole supply drop thing. I personally would love to sign up, but according to the page on your website, Australians can't access this at the moment because there's some kind of ban. Now, I didn't know that was a thing, but I have major FOMO as I'm hearing these weird cryptic messages being played, and I want to know what they mean. So is there any way, by any chance, that if an Aussie signs up for the supply drop, we can get some kind of digital version of certain things? Just something I wanted to flag with you guys and ask. If it's not a possibility, totally understand. But yeah, would be awesome. Thank you.
Oh, that is a good point. Yes, so I just checked with our producer today, and yes, the Australia ban on mailing things there is still currently in effect. Apparently, the Australian post office is so backed up that they've started sending just stuff back to where it came from.
Wow.
Because they can't handle it. So yeah, you know, if it's not up to us as far as the Australian shipping thing, we did have a couple of possibilities for shipping through like some custom weird fancy shipping stuff, but it literally is like $200 to ship stuff. So that is not currently an option.
Got to figure out a different route. We got to go through the
version
to go through Antarctica. Let the Nephilim penguins deliver the goods. You know, might be cheaper.
Or just use the tunnels, the underground tunnels.
Right.
Yeah, digital
I think we
version
should be able to do
is a
digital
good idea.
versions of some of this stuff, especially the.
Well, she's talking about the ARG.
Yeah, the codex or the codebreaker codex.
I will check. Our producers are obviously listening to this as well, so we'll have a meeting. We'll have a meeting about it. I think we'll see what we can do. Yeah. It's not currently formatted that way, but at the very least, the next time around, we'll be able to do that. But I'll see what I can do, Laura. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's the only message that we have today.
Okay, great. I did want to mention, because we do that. We have our jingle there. Thank you for your patronage, which is great. And I think I just looked up patron just to see what the official word is, because you could see how, thank you for your patronage. I don't know. I could see somebody being uncomfortable with that language. But a patron is somebody who gives patronage, is one that supports, protects, or champions someone or something, such as an institution, event, or cause, a sponsor, or benefactor. So I think that's exactly what the producers are. They are our benefactors, our protectors, our supporters, and our champions out there.
Yeah, it's like all the above there.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that it fits very well.
Yeah, it fits fine.
So thank you all for your patience.
Who's questioning it? Somebody in the chat? Go home.
God, hide. I didn't mean to bring him to your attention. Okay, I think that's it. So that's the messages. That's everything. I don't think we have anything else for this break. Let's wake on up.
We're going to wake up.
Yes, it's wake up time.
Hey, yo, wake up.
Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm. What's the procedure?
Twitch, Rumble, Odyssey, Twitter, Facebook, whatever it is, you can find all those links at CanaryCry.Party as well.
Too hot for YouTube.
Okay.
YouTube. Now you see me. Now you don't.
That's right. Now look at this, Gonz. We're back on time. Let's hit our little timer. We'll be back on time. Here we go. Love it, folks. How that works out. All right, let's talk about some COVID, some vaccine stuff.
It's Corona time. COVID-19. 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 Yes. COVID-19. COVID-19. Coronavirus.
Vaccine. Number one way.
Vaccine number one way. Well, Gonz, big news. We've heard over and over the threats from celebrities who are, make all sorts of threats. If Trump gets elected, Miley Cyrus was going to move to Canada. If Trump got elected, Seth Rogen was going to move to Canada. Everybody's just moving to Canada, man.
Did they? I don't think they did.
Not a single person
come on.
Canada followed through, which is why I don't want to get too excited about this. But there was a more recent threat if Trump got the 2024 presidency.
We got more data.
Roll that beautiful bean footage.
Here we go. Sorry. Playing with jingles, so I wasn't prepared.
Good,
Here we go.
Here
we go. This is Fauci with Acosta, Jim Acosta.
If Trump were to return to the White House as president, and COVID is still a threat, or there's some other public health emergency, would you have confidence in his ability? Would you have confidence in his ability to deal with a pandemic of this nature? Would you want to stay on in your post?
Well, no, to the second question. The first question
I think I knew the answer to it, but I had to ask you.
If you look at the history of what the response was during the administration, I think, at best you could say it wasn't optimal. And I think just history will speak for itself about that. I don't need to make any further comment on that, Jim. It's not productive.
You would not serve with Trump again, though. Fair to say.
Right.
Jeez. It's so awkward, too.
You know what's funny is as much as we bash on a guy like Fauci, I mean, even Acosta makes Fauci uncomfortable. Like that's hard to do.
You know why he's uncomfortable?
Because he knows the truth about Fauci's lizard agenda.
Because I'm talking about Fauci is uncomfortable because him leaving his post would mean he's no longer the highest paid unelected government official. He makes more money than literally the president.
Oh, you'll get a severance package.
And that's why he's like
a sunset package.
That's not what they do at the government. But he'd be fine.
Don't do that for
He'd be
Fauci.
fine. But you can see it in his pause, in his face. You can hear it in his voice almost. He's like, I know the correct answer is no, I would not serve under Trump. But as he's doing that, he's thinking about his new boat that he just bought and his new plane. And he's like, I have a lot of bills, man. And that $500,000 a year for just getting to go on TV and be the hero of the pandemic.
Of medicine.
Of course he won't go anywhere.
Science is truth.
He is virtue signaling and lying just as much as Seth Rogen and Miley Cyrus was. If Trump gets elected, Fauci is not quitting. He might get fired, but he is not quitting. That is for sure. Oh. But it was fun to hear him say it, though.
I think Fauci disagrees with you.
You do not know what you are talking about.
If he gives me the same answer that he gave Rand Paul, I will take that as an honor. My gosh. All right, what else you got?
All right, there you go. There's Fauci. Let's see. Okay, here we go. ABC News. U.S. has hit 1 million COVID deaths, but the number is likely higher. We keep hearing that the number is higher.
Yeah, because we all test at home when nobody reports it.
The United States hit the tragic milestone of 1 million COVID-19 deaths on Thursday, according to the White House. But researchers say the actual pandemic toll, including people who died from the pandemic's collateral damage, is actually much higher. Collateral damage, Basil, how do you define that?
Is that damage from the lockdown?
I can't think of anything else.
That is what collateral damage would be in this context.
How do you...
Can you read it again?
Okay. The United States hit a tragic milestone of 1 million COVID-19 deaths on Thursday, according to the White House. But researchers say the actual pandemic toll, including people who died from the pandemic's collateral damage, is actually much higher.
Yeah, collateral damage. Yeah. That's the drug overdoses. That's the lockdown-related deaths.
I mean, you can pretty much say the whole 2 years.
The not going to the doctor and letting your diabetes or your cancer progress, this and that. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what we keep seeing, these sort of quiet, subtle admissions that the lockdowns are just as dangerous.
Just as bad.
What was the one we had last episode?
I don't remember. They're coming. Every episode has one recently.
Every episode has one.
Head, but yeah,
I think it was ABC News as well.
I think it is ABC. Yeah, ABC's been leading the charge with the flip. And remember, we talked about how the boat was the big ship, the cruise ship, was flipping, it was turning around.
Turning
I think
slowly.
It's gotten pretty far along that turn. We're moving in the other direction now. Beyond the COVID-19 death toll, the pandemic also wreaked havoc on everyday life. Understatement of the century. Doctors' appointments were missed, cancer treatments postponed, people were afraid to go to the hospital, and some did not want to be burdened to overstretched medical systems. There were not enough hospital beds, yada, 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 with the healthcare staff shortage. We know all that stuff. All these situations contributed to what researchers called excess mortality.
Yeah.
In other words, reported COVID-19 deaths only account for part of the story. Using excess mortality estimates, a recent analysis in The Lancet found that by the end of last year, the number of people who died in the United States because of the pandemic was almost 40% higher than the official U.S. COVID deaths toll of 820,000, I think, at the time. There are many reasons. Yeah, so, 40% higher. But again, this is so weird because it's the official number that comes out of the White House that they keep saying is the official number, which is like in line with the CDC and all that. That right,
which
number
has been debunked. I mean, that number's been debunked over and over anyways.
That's the number they're pushing back against, right? With this 40% higher, and they're including all this other stuff.
You know what it feels like? It feels like, so right now with the vaccine-related reporting and the deaths.
I think that's what it was. The last episode was them admitting that vaccine-related death was like pretty high too. Or maybe it's today.
It feels like they're trying to reclaim the word or muddy the waters.
Right, because they can't say it's from the vaccines, so it's got to be from other reasons.
The phrase excess deaths. Yeah. The phrase excess deaths is the phrase that is used in the debunking of a lot of the vaccine info, and because you're talking about the excess deaths have raised with the prevalence of the vaccine. With the higher the prevalence of the vaccine, the higher the prevalence of excess deaths that don't get attributed to the vaccine, but it's just like, there's a lot of extra people dying for some reason right now.
Yeah.
And so it feels like, kind of muddying the waters using that word, like, oh, no. Oh, you Googled excess deaths? Well, yes, of course. There was a pandemic with excess deaths.
But the people who said that more people are going to die if we lock down are the crazy people. But now the governments are saying, or at least these articles are saying.
But now it's just a mainstream. Yeah, now it's just a mainstream thing.
Quote, healthcare systems do not list COVID-19. Listen to this. Quote,
real quick. Yeah. No, I know. Yeah, I wanted to point this out because I want you to read this. And in the same context of what I just said about the excess death thing is taking a narrative skeptic
talking point.
Yeah. And then flipping it to
flipping the meaning.
It's a very interesting jiu-jitsu redefinition thing.
But it's interesting also because it means the people that were saying that this whole time were right, and they have to take over the narrative because otherwise a bunch of people are going to wake up to the reality of what's going on, and that's not good for them.
It's very subtle working in and molding, again, along the lines of them sort of them getting themselves out of trouble,
right?
Like we've been watching the news outlets kind of start using words, start presenting data, start reframing the conversation in a way that people can that they can slither out of their responsibility of doing just literally everything they did during the pandemic.
Right.
And this next article, paragraph is a great example.
Right.
Sorry,
so there are many reasons why excess deaths are higher than the reported death count. Quote, healthcare systems do not list COVID-19 as a cause of death without a positive SARS-CoV-2 test.
Okay.
Now,
okay.
hold on one second.
Okay. So, we can agree, I guess, on that, except for that with the combination of the PCR test where you can crank it up and give anybody a positive test, with the incentivizations of the hospitals to get extra money for every positive PCR. These are the problems with the counting in the first place. So they are admitting the base fundamental concept that people like us have been talking about for 2 years, but they do something else with it.
Well, it's interesting also because when they say they don't list COVID-19 as a cause of death without a positive SARS-CoV-2 test, I don't know that that's universal, because I remember when we were breaking down the World Health Organization documents, the protocol on how to count deaths, it was
up to the doctor.
If there is no lab test, use your best judgment.
Use your judgment
I feel like
the
I'm
symptoms
yelling
are
into
consistent.
The abyss. Yeah.
Totally.
I feel like I'm yelling at no one when I've been pointing this thing out for a couple years now, but yeah, it just says right there that it doesn't have to be lab tested, or at least a positive lab test.
You just use your best judgment. It
So-
said if they had symptoms that could be applied, and it listed the symptoms,
Right.
like runny nose or cough or whatever. You could just say that it was a COVID death.
Right. So that's why I'm kind of like, okay, where is the standard coming from? Is this just this hospital, or what are we talking about? But it makes it sound like this is universal.
There's so much more to it, though.
Yeah.
They were just laying that foundation that we can sort of agree on.
Okay, so healthcare systems do not list COVID-19 as a cause of death without a positive SARS-CoV-2 test. Therefore, the deaths that occurred earlier in the pandemic, before testing was readily available, or in places with limited testing abilities, death due to COVID-19 were unlikely to be included in the official count, said lead investigator Haidong Wang.
Full hockey. If that early days of the pandemic, that death number was going bonkers.
It was going nuts.
And there was no test. So what? They just didn't have a test, and they were some people. It just makes no sense. It's completely erroneous.
Yeah,
who said this?
The Dr. Haidong Wang, associate professor of health metrics sciences at the University of Washington in Seattle.
It's just pure lies.
I mean, if there's anyone that knows how to mess with the numbers and present false information, maybe it's a associate professor of health metrics sciences.
Right. Yeah.
There's also also no global consensus on when a death of someone infected with COVID should be reported as a death due to COVID.
The key there is global, because there is a consensus. And we're not even talking about global numbers. We are talking about numbers in the United States. And there absolutely was a consensus on when a death of someone infected with COVID should be reported as a death due to COVID. And that is, the consensus was, it's up to you, doc. Just know that if you do put COVID on there, your hospital gets an extra $30,000 or whatever. Right. Yeah.
Quote, there can be a gray area when it comes to coding a death and attributing it to COVID, particularly when someone may have been infected weeks to months prior, said John Brownstein, PhD, an epidemiologist and chief innovation officer at Boston Children's Hospital. He is also an ABC News medical contributor. Ooh.
Okay.
Excess mortality has been,
I don't know. I'm getting mad at this article now. Is it just this over and over? Is it just the whole thing is just lie upon lie, just trying to get out of the numbers that they committed to?
Talk about UN Sustainable Development Solutions Network.
Oh, good.
A recent report produced by the Poor People's Campaign. Really it's called the Poor People's Campaign?
Yeah, it's fun. It's good. Poor people's got a campaign.
I know, but
that's our campaign, Gonz.
We should join this. Let us lead it. Let us lead the charge. In collaboration with the UN Sustainable Development Solution Network, found that COVID disproportionately affected poorer communities. Yeah, we know that. All right, so there you go. That's 1 million, likely higher.
It's the old switcheroo. They're pulling the old switcheroo.
Yeah.
That makes me upset.
Yeah, well, maybe you shouldn't read this next one either because it'll equally upset you.
Okay, I will.
The San Francisco one. Oh, is this behind a paywall?
Yeah.
What happened? I thought I had this not on a paywall.
I'm good. I'm in.
It, then.
I've hacked the mainframe.
Yeah, go for it.
This is from San Francisco Chronicle. Why is the COVID case rate in San Francisco so much higher than the U.S. right now? Why is that? For almost the entire pandemic, San Francisco's COVID-19 case rates have been lower than the nation's as a whole, but not anymore. Earlier this spring, the city's confirmed new case rates climbed above those of the U.S. Then, on May 3rd, San Francisco's case rate doubled that of the U.S. Oh, my gosh. As of May 10, the national daily case rate was about 23 new cases per 100,000 people, whereas in San Francisco, the case rate was at 42 per 100,000 people,
42.
according to data from the New York Times analyzed by the Chronicle. Wow. Peter Chin Hong, as infectious disease expert at UCSF, said that San Francisco's current high case rates are likely due to the city being relatively protected from the disease. That's good. The current high case rates are likely due to the city being relatively protected from the disease for the past 2 years, combined with city residents taking more risks as local pandemic-era restrictions and messaging wane. Quote, "You can only protect yourself for that long," Chin Hong said. Quote, "Once people get tired or fed up for various reasons and you move around, you're going to put yourself at increased risk. Because San Francisco did such a good job at preventing its residents from infection.
They were such good slaves in their cages.
Fewer San Franciscans have acquired immunity from the prior disease, so they are overall more likely to catch COVID-19 right now. So it's almost like they were so good at pandemic restrictions and locking down that they actually hurt themselves in the long run.
You mean their immunity went down? I thought that's not a thing.
Oh, weird. Why don't they should get vaccinated in San Francisco? I wonder somebody should send some vaccines to those poor underprivileged San Franciscans.
Keep reading.
And while the greater share of San Franciscans are vaccinated than the U.S. as a whole, the COVID-19 vaccines have become less effective at preventing infections as coronavirus strains have mutated, he added. Ooh. While a COVID-19 surge is never good news, Chin Hong said that so far, at least, the increase in case rates hasn't led to a large corresponding increase in hospitalizations, likely because of how many San Franciscans are vaccinated and boosted. Vaccines have become less effective against
read that last sentence. Hold on. Start that sentence over.
I hear you. You
skipped a word. Crazy. You skipped an important word.
Likely because of how many San Franciscans are vaccinated and boosted.
Mm-hmm. Next sentence.
Vaccines may have become less effective against infection protection as the virus mutates, but they're still excellent at preventing severe illness and death. Lies, lies, lies.
Do you hear the goalposts being moved again?
The goalposts are moved again.
Like over here,
Omicron generally
over here, and yeah.
Well, and as we know, Omicron over and over and over does not send people to the hospital at not even in the same universe of the ballpark that the original strains did. So it's not the vaccines, it's just the Omicron. Come on now. This is some very talented dodging and weaving by the San Francisco Chronicle. Quote, "If I had to choose one evil over the other, hands down, I'd choose people not getting really sick. What is the other option, Chin Hong? I don't understand."
So that's a pro-vaccine statement.
One evil over the other, hands down, I'd choose people not getting really sick. What is the other option? Because I would also choose that they not get really sick.
Yes, but this is in the context of get the vaccine. So the other evil option is to not get the vaccine.
Well, you're not going to get really sick either way with Omicron, but I guess that's the sort of fundamental truth that
Yeah,
Chin Hong.
The presuppositions don't apply.
We're working on different presuppositions, right?
Yeah.
Hospitalizations have increased. Okay, I get it. Who cares? Yeah, no, they're just trying to find ways to justify locking themselves inside and turning their immune system into that of a baby ground squirrel. And thankfully that Omicron is just not going to hurt them very badly. Anyways.
I like that the end of this article talks about how the wealthier neighborhoods have been getting hit harder than the low-income ones.
Oh, those poor wealthy neighborhoods.
As the Chronicle previously reported, this is probably because previous waves, particularly January's Omicron tidal wave, gave lower-income neighborhoods an immunity boost that is helping them fight this current surge. Is this thing killing anybody, or are we just talking about how immune we are to this?
That's cold? What we're talking about. We're talking about Omicron being the live vaccine ripping through the poor neighborhoods.
All right. Well, let me just quickly mention this, and then we can talk about the World Health Organization vote thing going on. North Korea, National Post headline here. 820,000 COVID cases reported in North Korea. Kim warns of upheaval after explosive outbreak. Explosive outbreak in North Korea.
That's more than doubled since Friday.
Oh, big time. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un called the growing outbreak of a fever, quote, the big upheaval since the nation's founding.
I think the next pandemic is going to come from this. I think they're planning this sooner rather than later.
A fever. That's right, because they didn't say COVID in the last thing, right? It was like a unknown disease or something like that.
They're assuming that it's COVID.
Right.
The doctors are all saying
switcheroo.
It's the switcheroo, man. This is the new one.
The big upheaval since the nation's founding, end quote. As state media reported more new cases Saturday. There was about 296,000 cases of fever with 15 deaths, the Korean Central News Agency said, adding to more than 170,000 cases reported the previous day. The total death toll stands at 42.
Really?
Yeah.
A lot of 42s recently, huh?
A lot of 42.
A lot of 42s.
Kim has ordered a lockdown of major cities since the country said earlier this week it found a COVID case within its borders. Oh, it says COVID here.
What is 42 out of 820,000 cases? What is that fatality rate?
Oh, that's pretty small. It's very small. It's 0.00
extremely
something.
Small.
82. Yeah. Oh, no, I'm sorry. 42. 42 divided by 820,000 equals, move the decimals, 0.00512%.
Okay, so this great upheaval has a fatality rate of
0.005%.
0.005. So it could very possibly be COVID. Seems about right on par with COVID, actually.
That's good. Okay. Yeah, I mean, there you go. Be afraid. North Korea getting it.
I mean, we got to keep an eye on it, man.
It is weird. This is
what happened. This is what happened in December of 2019 when we started talking about this weird thing going on in China.
That's right.
Before the whole thing. So I'm not ignoring this. Whatever this. I mean, it's weird. He keeps calling it a fever, and the media is calling it COVID, but they admitted that they're just having to guess. Like, they don't know. Nobody can go in or out, really.
Yeah.
The only people really who can go in or out of North Korea freely are the Chinese. So, you're basically getting all this filtered through North Korean and Chinese sources.
Yeah, that would be interesting if there's the Kim cold, the Kim Kim Jong variant or something.
So let's talk about the WHO.
Okay, yeah.
Okay,
World Health Organization.
Came up in a producer note last episode about the WHO and a vote going on the 22nd that will hand over America's
sovereignty over to the government or the institution of
the World Health Organization. Yeah. So we've done some looking, and yes, it's very, very interesting to see this, but also not quite. We're seeing it presented in a lot of places in ways that are not exactly match up with the reality, but
it's a little more sensationalized than.
Let's check it out. So over here at the Telegraph.
Oh, you're at the Telegraph here.
Yeah, really hard actually to find primary sources on this stuff because it's mostly sort of the zone is flooded with blogs. You know, you try to search for this, and it's mostly just blogs and blogs and blogs and blogs of really scary language about this. Very difficult to find just any mainstream stuff talking about it or primary sources on top of that. But this is from the Telegraph. Admittedly, not the best, but we're doing the best we can here. The article is titled, "A WHO Pandemic Pact Would Leave the World at China's Mercy." So you can see even now it's still pretty spooky sounding.
Hold on, China.
On 22nd of May, the World Health Organization meets for the World Health Assembly, an annual summit in which all the world's countries are invited, except Taiwan, which is excluded at China's behest. And Taiwan is just wrapped up in all
we're
the
starting
stories.
to see it
It's going to
creep
happen.
into everything. That I'm telling you, when that happens, U.S. supply chains are going to go down.
It's going to go nuts.
It's going to go crazy.
On the agenda is a, quote, pandemic accord that would greatly expand the WHO's powers to intervene in a country in the event of a future outbreak. The European Union, true to form, pushed for a legally binding pandemic treaty instead. But that won't happen for two reasons. The American Senate would need a 2/3 majority to ratify it, and the Chinese government would not allow even its pet international agency to tell it what to do. But the accord, so you can see sort of the leaning of this fella.
Yeah.
But the accord would still have substantial force of international law behind it, which is funny for those who know about international law. It's to call it a force is sort of an interesting way to think
We
about
have
it.
the power. Well, you have the military.
Well, who's going to do it? I don't know. America, we'll do it. Well, okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else? No? Okay. Who's going to? Yeah, okay. To make governments impose domestic lockdowns. For example, despite the WHO's own figures showing little correlation between lockdown severity and death rates, though some of the measures make sense, such as more sharing of vaccines with other countries, the plan skates around WHO's errors. During the COVID-19 pandemic, it ignored Taiwan's early alarm call, praised the Chinese government for its transparency at a time when it was denying human-to-human transmission and punishing whistleblowers, delayed declaring a health emergency, flip-flopped on masks and lockdowns, and mounted a farcical Potemkin investigation into the origin of the virus. Added to its poor performance in the 2014 Ebola outbreak, when for months WHO resisted calls from doctors and NGOs to declare an emergency to avoid offending member governments, this track record does not inspire confidence. According to the meeting's agenda, the accord would be part of 6 action tracks focused on healthcare systems, zoonotic outbreaks, endemic tropical diseases, food safety, antimicrobial resistance, and protecting the environment. What is missing from that list, something WHO itself and the U.S. and other governments insist might well have been the cause of the COVID pandemic, namely a laboratory experiment gone wrong or a virus-hunting researcher infected while sampling bats in the field. Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, the WHO Director General, said in July last year that it was premature to rule out a lab leak. And it talks about the lab leak and gives some history on the whole thing. Talks about Bill Gates. Talks about
I like
Bill
how
Gates.
they put Bill Gates.
William Gates,
the former software
developer by the name of William Gates, has written a book called How to Prevent the Pandemic.
Why did they do that?
William Gates. I don't know. It's really funny.
William Gates.
I like it.
I like it. It must be a jab.
I think it's definitely
a jab.
And
get it?
Yeah, nice. See, and it is a jab because they call him a former software developer. not a doctor or pandemic or whatever.
This is better than those blogs talking about this.
This is hilarious. This is a very funny article, actually. A former software developer. We should all start talking about a former software developer by the name of William Gates. Not philanthropist, not billionaire, not,
That's what the PR wants us to use, but this is more accurate.
What is this guy's name? Who wrote this thing?
I forget his name. Funny. His name was up there at the top.
Okay, so he goes into, he talks
Matt
a lot.
Ridley.
Matt Ridley. Thank you, Matt Ridley. Man, he spends a lot of time talking about
the pandemic,
stuff.
really. A lot of the stuff, which, by the way, is the sentiment of the pandemic, I think, it did reach a critical mass in the last few months where people are like, okay, something's not right. Even like your most towing the line PC, I believe everything the government tells me kind of people are a little bit like, yeah, I don't know about all this stuff, the lockdown and everything. So I think he's reflecting or he's expressing what a lot of the sentiment is in popular America, so to speak.
Yeah.
Like most of Americans at least think that.
No, I think it's good. Now, he does make a suggestion. He makes a suggestion for this World Health Assembly. So you might think the World Health Assembly might have put lab safety and transparency of research on the agenda next week, at the very least, but nowhere are these even mentioned. Presumably, China would object in February, and then it just goes on about how he's like more making suggestions rather than talking about what the actual vote is. So we'll head on over to WHO.int, the World Health Organization website here.
Yep.
And we found it. This is the 75th World Health Assembly. And just to get some of the official PR here, the 75th World Health Assembly will commence on the 22nd of May and is expected to end on the 28th of May.
Expected to end?
You never know. They could go long. It will be the first in-person health assembly since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic due to the ongoing renovation of the Palais des Nations, where the health assembly is to be held. The number of rooms available and their capacity will be limited. Okay, so don't even try to get a hotel room, folks. Access to meeting rooms where the meetings will be held will therefore be restricted. Oh, nobody can come in.
No,
Sorry,
all that language is there to prevent people like us from reporting, like being there to report it.
You can't
they don't
come.
Like,
if you're not invited,
people.
You can't come.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Strategic roundtables.
Additionally, there will be no side events.
That's right.
Wear face masks.
Don't even think about it. During the 75th World Health Assembly, a series of strategic roundtables will be held during these sessions.
Yes.
WHA delegates, partner agencies, representatives of civil society, and WHO experts will discuss current and future priorities for public health issues of global importance. The themes introduced during the Director General's opening remarks at the 150th session of the WHO Executive Boards are... Excuse me.
The suspense.
Names kind of a bunch of nonsense.
We got to go through every single one of these and break it down word by word. No, we don't.
No, we don't.
There's a couple in here that are interesting.
Yeah, name the interesting ones.
So there's urgent paradigm shift toward preventing disease and promoting health, economics of health for all.
Right.
Which, again, preventing disease, promoting health. Remember Kamala earlier saying, what is it, an endemic of hate or something like that, making it seem like it's that I think hate can become a health problem.
Could be, yeah.
I think that's what they're shooting for.
And if there's a pandemic, then the WHO can get involved.
Yeah. So there's the universal health coverage, blah, blah, blah. New architecture for health emergency preparedness, response, and resilience. 10 proposals for a safer world. This is the one I thought was crazy. But not crazy. Behavioral sciences for better health.
Yeah, social engineering.
Behavioral sciences for better health. Basically, we need to do a better job of controlling the behavior of these people.
Yeah, it's a social engineering, and that's an interesting aspect to this whole thing.
Yeah.
How can we control culture just in general, which is always nice.
And then a healthy return, investing in a sustainably financed WHO. So it's always about money in the end. And we also did find the document that a lot of people were citing as sort of the vote or whatever, which provisional agenda item 16.2. This is on the WHO's website, apps.who.int. And the headline, not the headline, but the title of this document is Strengthening WHO Preparedness for and Response to Health Emergencies. And to me, I think what they're doing here is just updating some of the protocol that was established.
It's
the regulations,
been around.
Yeah, that was established in 2005. Hey, it's been 17 years or whatever. We just went through a pandemic. We should retool some of the language here, blah blah blah. But to the point of the Guardian article, I would think that transparency when it comes to these laboratories would be an important factor. Making all this stuff open source would be an important factor for an international organization, when they're coming up with rules and whatever for how this ought to be dealt with. No sign of that, of course. So
yeah.
That's what it was. It's not really a vote for the U.S. government to hand over control, which it's kind of a both and, but not.
Can I add some things just because I feel like a couple things got missed there. So it's an update to the internal WHO protocols.
Yes,
is what it is.
Yeah.
And yes, in the WHO protocols that already exist, by the way, these are technically bound under international law. However, international law doesn't really mean a whole lot because nobody sort of internationally enforces them. It's usually up to the United States or some, partner nation of the United States to enforce things. And, to have something enforced on the United States, nobody's going to do that. Now, of course, Biden or whoever's in charge could choose to acquiesce to a request from the WHO, but they're going to do that whether or not an outside force is going to force them. Yeah. So more or less what this does is it updates current protocols. It sets a much more specific set of rules for how the World Health Organization will declare emergencies. Health emergencies over, if something happens. The way it happened during the pandemic was admittedly sort of chaotic. And if the WHO said like, oh, there's an emergency in India, India could just be like, no, there isn't. Okay.
Which is kind of what sort of happened, especially with India.
But the new protocols would make it so, you can't necessarily say, no, there isn't. But again, it's just like it's a WHO label being put on things. It's not so much a sort of control, a handing over of control. There are things like 48-hour deadlines from when a risk is detected. Let's see here. Significantly, member states would be required to inform WHO about emerging threats identified by its national IHR focal point within 48 hours. So there's like requirements of member states to report things. For instance, how China did not report things for a long time. There's requirements to put that people, that nations report stuff. There is kind of a little bit scary language, and I think this is what got people mostly freaked out. Is there is some language about the WHO can just declare a health emergency wherever,
which they did already,
which they kind of already do. The only difference is that you can veto your own status in the WHO right now.
Yeah.
But the World Health Organization. But again, there's no when they say international law, that doesn't mean anything. That there's nothing.
It doesn't
like
trickle
if the WHO
down
said,
the way.
Yeah, if the WHO said, "Hey, the U.S. has a state of emergency," and we couldn't veto it or whatever, it'd be like, okay, great. We're just going to keep doing our thing. Well, it's international law. Okay, well, what are you going to do about it?
Put you in space jail.
It's a really good question. We're putting you in space jail, America.
So putting a big dome around America and all those white supremacists.
Yes, and there was lots of votes, or a lot of votes. There's a lot of blogs and like stuff talking about how the vote is coming up on the 22nd and how it's like going to be ratified into law and stuff. This is just an internal organizational vote at the World Health Organization. This is not a vote in the U.S. Senate. This is not a vote in whatever.
It's one of those details that, and this happens a lot, I've noticed in kind of a truther community type of thing where the sentiment is correct, like the concerns and the overall sentiment about what the WHO is and how they're infiltrating and all that, that's correct. But this little detailed, like this specific thing isn't exactly how it's being promoted within sort of the truther blogs or whatever. Which again, I don't know, it's tough because the concerns are still there. I'm not trying to like dismiss the concerns of the WHO and what they're doing and all that. Clearly they strong-armed every world government, or at least played a role in influencing all the nations of the world except Antarctica to comply with some level of, hey, we are in this pandemic or whatever. Yeah. So they have certainly a power that exceeds or appears to have exceeded what we're used to in this country. But
it's backed up by the U.S. government.
But like that's what I'm saying. Yeah, the U.S. government is the one that let him in the door, not these rules that are established on high.
That is why it's notable that it is the U.S. government, it's the Biden administration that has proposed these rules in the first place. Right. Not because the WHO, they want to make it so the WHO can tell us what to do. It's so we can tell the WHO what to do. And this is basically a mechanism by which the U.S. can force basically its own sort of medical industrial complex empire building on the rest of the world.
Right.
This is not something that necessarily puts the U.S. at risk, although it could be done in a way. But the U.S. is the only nation that could enforce it in the first place. So if our nation wants to lock down our nation, we don't need the WHO to force us. We don't need anybody else to force us. We are the military might behind these rules.
Yeah, we're better at it, and we're better at doing it anyway.
And the fact that we are the ones who propose the rules, and actually we are the ones who are forcing them through. There's a lot of other countries that don't like these rules because they know that it gives America the big red button to shut down their entire country.
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure. I mean, I think it's kind of weird propaganda to say that this is necessarily a threat to our country. Whatever is going to happen through this rule, we were going to do to ourselves anyways. It's other countries that should be afraid of this because this is pretty. I mean, you think about the iron grip of American imperialism. This is the medical industrial complex of the U.S. basically creating a mechanism by which to siphon wealth from the rest of the world at any moment that it chooses.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the final line there about the returns, the monetary returns. That's really the whole point. I think that's we're seeing sort of a tug of war as well. So in the WHO between China and the U.S., they're probably both trying to influence.
I kind of hate to say it, but this rule will take away America's sovereignty. Feels a little bit like some Chinese propaganda. I mean, look, I don't like the WHO. I don't want the WHO to have any power. I barely am a fan of the U.S.'s sort of empirical workings across the globe, or the pancake or whatever. It just, especially when I don't get cheap gas. I mean, what's the point of being a citizen of an empire if my gas is $6?
Yeah.
Come on, folks. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of the point. I think a lot of this will take away America's sovereignty stuff is coming from other nations.
Well, you know what else that stokes? The taking away American sovereignty? It stokes the whole white supremacy nationalist movement. So, yeah, it does seem a little bit baitish. I'll say
which is which is obviously also influenced by Chinese propaganda.
China, exactly. Yeah. So we'll label this sus.
Sus. I would like to skip this next story and go right into the break.
That's what I was wondering. It's a good one.
I think we have to do it. We'll bring it next. We'll bring it next show.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Let's take a break.
Let's take a break.
It's break time. Come on, take a break.
This is the second break where we thank our producers who come in with their talent. We have many talented producers out there, and there are still some that have not contributed to the show. I know you're listening.
He's slowing down, folks.
You're watching. You're definitely
we see you.
Yeah, we see.
By the way, speaking of talent, I did go through a process during one of your excellent analyses, Gonz, by the way. Is taking the time to do some research over at madamadam.com.
Oh, yeah.
Seems like the main business over here at Madam Adam is online tarot card readings. Starting out with a 5-card general reading for $60.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the base price.
$60.
$60.
Hey, if you're going to put $60 on a 5-card reader, hey, you got $60 to spend on that, put it in Bitcoin.
Yep. I don't even know much about I don't even know much about tarot card, but I know a 5-card reading. That's a wimpy reading. That's not a good enough reading. You need more cards than 5 cards. The only thing less than 5 is 3-card, and I mean 3 cards is basically a party trick. So yeah, there you go. 5 cards for $60. You can do the full now, Gonz. Here's where you really get the value. 78 cards. That's the whole deck.
Wow.
The Fool's Journey. This reading is called the Fool's Journey.
Fool's Journey.
Because
you're a fool.
You're a fool for spending $300 on this 78 card whole deck thing.
I like how he tells you. At least he tells you you're a fool.
Hey, you got to give him credit for that. Ooh, I just turned on Kern browsing, and that's a bad idea. That's where you can control it with your keyboard, and I did that on accident. Okay, anyways, so let's see here. Let's pick something. If I want any reading whatsoever, Gonz, if you want any reading, you're gonna have to wait 2 weeks. The soonest that you can get on board.
Is that the COVID waiting thing because of COVID?
No, it's a digital reading. It's just on your computer. He's just
what's
booked.
taking him so long?
He's booked up, man. He's a popular guy.
But it's not because of COVID?
It's not because of COVID.
Okay.
No,
was he vaccinated?
No.
I don't want anybody unvaccinated reading my cards.
I don't know, but he's got a great deal with McDonald's. So the 29th, he's got 1 slot open at 11 a.m. The 30th, another 1 slot open at 11 a.m.
Wow.
I don't know about this, but
he looks like he works 1 hour a day.
It looks like maybe he works about an hour a day. So he must make a good amount of money there. There you go. All right.
Okay. Well, you stalled way too long.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. But so this is our break, thanking our producers who come in with their talent. The Canary Cry News Talk is a place for therapeutic reflection of our troubling world, and we encourage those of you out there listening, watching, or consuming this content who has a skill when it comes to art or music or anything like that to express all of the craziness going on in that medium and then share it with us so we can share it with the world. And we are going to start off by thanking some audio producers.
Audio production.
Our first piece comes from, and comes with a note, is Jonathan F. And Jonathan F., he just wanted to get this in. I'm wondering, he must have sent it before, then we didn't see it or something. But, Basil rage over baby formulas.
As we know, the food shortage was more or less has been planned for a while, has been known about, has been commented on from the White House.
Ooh.
expand someday more rapidly. Food shortages. We need to run out of food faster. This was the lives are going to be targeted first.
Fun.
I feel like
That's very fun.
Went on some kind of weird mind trip where Basil was speaking into all sides of my ear holes. It's crazy.
Thank you very much, Jonathan F.
It's going to take me a second to recover from that.
Yeah, we got to play that at the end of the show for the Canary Cry mixtape. I have a very strange thing going on, Gonz. My keyboard is gone. My everything is gone. I have my 2 pointer fingers in the metaverse here, but there's also a third pointer finger that moves with my head. I can point at things with my head. Yeah, my keyboard is gone. I have no way to undo what I've done. So I'm going to deal with that, and you tell us about more art.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Jonathan F., for that piece. And we also have one from Psalm 40.
In this darkened world, he can help you see. Just listen to Psalm 40.
Here's a note here. Greetings. This week I have Revelation chapters 1 through 5. I've been avoiding this book for a while now. I wanted to do a throne room scene, but I thought Revelation would just get too abstract. The whole purpose I want to accomplish is to make scripture more easily absorbable. And I'm not sure there's much I can do to make this book go down any easier. That is 100% true. It is not. Well, it is becoming easier as we enter the metaverse, and anything you imagine is possible. Why not? An abyss opening up with creatures coming out. I mean, people can picture it now. Sure. But I was ready to quit, and God just dropped a care package of inspiration into my lap. So I'm going to trust the Lord will help me out. God bless and enjoy. And this is a longer piece. We'll only play a part of it here. But this is Revelation Part 1 by Psalm 40.
I heard behind me a loud voice like a trumpet, and it said, "Write down all that you see." I turned to see the voice, and there I saw 7 golden candles, and in the midst of them stood the Son of Man. His hair was white as wool. His eyes were like a flame of fire. His feet were like precious metals, refined and made to glow. His voice was like rushing waters.
We'll play the whole track at the end of the show.
Love it.
Love it. Great job. Man, got some really good feelies to that one. So thank you very much, Psalm 40. Appreciate it. That's it for the music. Let's go to some art.
One art, please.
And let's start with Dame Allie of the Skillet Nation.
One art, please. Another one from Allie now. Here it is.
And hang on one second. I need to move it over. Uh-oh. What happened? Oh, did I not get Allie's art? All right.
Oh, no.
Guess I didn't download it, but here it is. We have the note here, and the note comes from Ebony Blaze that helped out here. And, per usual, if you are skipping the breaks, you're skipping content, because, a lot of times these producers bring stories in that get missed or get skipped. And the story that it was brought to us today by Dame Allie and Ebony Blaze is from Science Alert. And the headline is, "Cats Remember Each Other's Names. Japanese Study Suggests."
Japan!
It's Japanese people, man.
What are you doing?
They're like, oh, getting tired of making a robot. What should we do? Read cat brain. So anyway, sorry. Okay, and the note here says, in which Monty reads an article about, the headline, or the felines listen, in which Monty reads an article about cats' ability to remember names and realize the jig is up, and he can no longer pretend to not be listening and comprehending Basil's words. And let's see, should I read the article here? There's some highlights from the the article.
I don't know if there's good stuff.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and read the part that's highlighted. In a study, scientists discovered that in addition to knowing their own names, cats also appear to recognize the name of other cats they're familiar with, and may also know the names of people who live in the same household.
I know.
Maybe the
It's
weirdest
the thing,
bit,
man.
The weirdest bit is realizing that these aloof, seemingly disengaged creatures have been surreptitiously listening to us talking all this time. Quote, I want to know the truth. Oh, no, I want people to know the truth. Felines do not appear to listen to people's conversations, but as a matter of fact, they do.
It's true. I can tell when one Monty knows that I'm talking to another Monty, and then I can switch over to talking to that Monty, and they know their names. They just don't care, man. They got more important stuff going on. They're planning the economic downfall of, the international nations and things like that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So thank you, Japan. Thank you for your giant robots, and thank you for your sort of superfluous cat studies. It's really bringing a lot of fun to my life.
Yeah. And this piece by Ali is a cat, and as was said in the note, I guess this is Monty. Monty's reading the article.
Trying to get over to it here. I am in a strange...
So this is Monty. It's like a side view of Monty looking down at a phone.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I see it now. Oh, I love it. Yeah, he's reading some articles. He's getting some stuff ready for the show. Yeah, he knows
the jig is up.
He's a little disappointed in the fact that these Chinese scientists got a little distracted.
How dare you?
From their work on giant robots. What did I say?
You said Chinese. How dare you?
I can't believe
that's sin.
Yeah. Well done, Dame Allie. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Let's move on to Sir Dove, Knight of Respeltia.
One-art piece from Dove.
And 'tis Monday, which means two pieces. Piece for today's Bible artwork. I did an illustration of the throne of God for Psalm 40's new Revelation track. And one for Isaiah 54. No weapon formed against thee shall prosper. Hope you guys like and keep doing what you do, and I'll keep praying for yins. And this first piece is, as mentioned, it's a throne. And it says here, at once I was in the spirit, and behold, a throne. What's that word there? Sorry. Sometimes a throne. Why can't I read this word? What am I doing wrong?
Dude, I can't even get over to it. So you are on your own. Oh, wait. Okay, I figured this out. I've gone into some weird new version of the metaverse that I'm having to relearn. It's not letting me open. There we go. Did he not put the things in the email? If once I was in the... Oh, Lordy, help
At once
me.
I was in the spirit, and behold, a throne, something in heaven.
Stood.
Stood. You know what it is? That S doesn't look like an S, man.
No.
And that T doesn't look like a T.
It's better than an S. It is an ultra S and an ultra
and a
T.
super T. It's like, I'm not cool enough to read this, man. I'm losing touch with
the individual alphabetical letters can hold.
Yeah. So, and then it's on the side, it says rumblings of thunder and flashes of lightning. Yeah, from the same scripture there. It's got some fire and lightning under the throne. Pretty cool piece. I like it.
Yeah, very cool.
And then the second piece, this one he did give us the text, no weapon formed against thee shall prosper. And it's like a brick wall, a picture of a brick wall with the cool graffiti-esque caption that says just that, no weapon formed against thee shall prosper. And it's got, let's see, some steel knuckles. What looks like, what is this, an Uzi or something? I don't know. I'm not a gun aficionado, so I don't know all the names. But some kind of machine gun and some kind of rifle here. You got a knife and a blade and an axe and a broken bottle at the bottom there too.
Yeah, he's got the full arsenal, man.
Full arsenal
and they've all got very mean faces on.
Right. Yeah, mean faces and googly
every
eyes.
gun, every axe, every
some chains.
every box cutter has There's an angry face on it. I love it.
Tommy gun. That's what it is. Is that what that is? Tommy gun?
No.
On the top
no,
right?
that's a Uzi. I'm on it now.
Okay,
you got
so
an
I was
Uzi,
right.
you got an AK-47, a knife, box cutter, axe.
Yeah, maybe I've shot an Uzi before.
Maybe. Doubt it.
No, I have not.
No.
Shot a 50 caliber, though.
Got to go into some certain states for that. You shot a 50 cal. That's no joke.
Yeah, that was fun. All right. So thank you very much, Sir Dove. Appreciate it. And it's time for the microfiction. Are you able to microfiction?
I can microfiction.
Okay.
Let's microfiction.
So weird to say that.
Microfiction. Microfiction.
And this one's from Wrong Smash.
Hearing the cacophony being caused by Monty and Propaganda Rooster, Cody pokes around the corner and sees his person talking to the spooky-eyed man. Stealing his nerve, Cody bursts in with a mighty, "No wobble eyes, Big Mouse is bad. Rooster said so." Cody making an appearance.
Yeah, Cody not mincing words.
Not mincing words. He's not messing around.
All right. Thank you very much, Wrong Smash. Appreciate that. We also have one, because it's Monday, we have one from the Sentinel.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, here we go. Did I lose Basil?
While Basil practices in his new skates on the other side of town, the Alpha Boys are preparing for the tournament as well. It is now only 2 weeks away. Master Grease stands in the center of the ring, barking commands. 1! The Alpha Boys all lean to the right, extending their arms out in a shoving motion as they circle their master. 2! They lean left, shoving again. 3! They jump forward, pulling themselves past an invisible adversary. The roller skating rink thunders as they all land at the same time. 4! The new janitor looks on in awe as all the Alpha Boys perform a sweeping motion in unison. 5!
Oh, so this is like a glimpse into the hive mind.
The strat, man. They're getting their strats ready for the big comp.
Wow.
Those Alpha Boys.
Is this kind of like the scene from Karate Kid when he goes to that other dojo and he sees
dojo.
Sees all of the dragon dojo or whatever. I can't remember the name of it.
Cobra Kai?
Oh, that's right. Cobra Kai. That's right. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Cobra Kai. My bad.
Right. That's right.
I did see
Thank you very much.
Seasons of that, and then
well done. Sorry about that pause at the beginning.
Dramatic effect.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, we'll just call it dramatic effect.
Yeah. Suspense always works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Suspenders. Okay. And for you out there, are you a creative person? Are you wanting to become a producer of a relatively popular podcast, but also one that, is a bit underrated in some circles and admittedly overrated in other circles? Well, if that sounds like you and you can, you're a musician or an artist or whatever you do creatively, create something for the show. It's a wonderful way to, support the show, help create the culture of the show, give us something fun to do on the second break, but also build your skills. Every producer who continually builds something for the show builds music, builds an art, whatever you build it back for the show, and we'll put it on the show. It's a wonderful thing. And send it all into CanaryCry.Radio@gmail.com.
All right. I think we are going to wake up and Nephilim update.
Yes, it's wake up time.
Hey, yo, wake up.
Nephilim update.
It's been a while since we have an actual Nephilim update, but
I know
here
it's like
we are.
it's almost a throwback at this point.
I know. This is spectator.co.uk, published May 8th, 2022, by Sean Thomas. I'm not going to read all of it. It's kind of a long article, but we'll get what we need to get out of it. And the headline here is an unknown, extraordinary ancient civilization buried under East Turkey? ?
What a loaded question.
Yeah, not extraterrestrial, extraordinary. This is very interesting. There are some references to adult-themed things here. Just a heads
Earmuffs.
up for some of the little kiddies. But it's not too bad. It's just a couple technical terms. I am staring at about a dozen stiff, 8-foot-high, orange-red penises, carved from living bedrock and semi-enclosed in an open chamber. A strange carved head of a man, a demon, a priest, a god, also hewn from the living rock, gazes at the phallic totems like a primitivist's gargoyle. The expression of the stone head is doleful to the point of grimacing, as if he or she or it disapproves of all this, of everything being stripped naked under the heavens and revealed to the world for the first time in 130 centuries.
Wow, that's a lot of centuries.
Yes, 130 centuries, because these penises, this peculiar chamber, this entire...
You're lucky I don't read articles that you bring to the show, Gonz, because this would have never made it past the censors.
Once we get past this point, it's not really...
it's clinical. I'm just
I know,
joking,
and it relates to a theme of the obelisk and stuff. Because these things, this peculiar chamber, this entire perplexing place known as Karahan Tepe, pronounced Karahan Tepe, which is now emerging from the dusty plains of Haran in eastern Turkey, is astonishingly ancient. Put it another way, it is estimated to be 11 to 13,000 years old. This number is so large, it is hard to take in. For comparison, the Great Pyramid at Giza is 4,500 years old. Stonehenge is 5,000 years old. The Cairn de Bernenes tomb complex in Brittany, perhaps the oldest standing structure in Europe, could be up to 7,000 years old. The oldest megalithic ritual monument in the world until the Turkish discoveries was always thought to be
Göbekli Tepe.
No, that's not how you say this word.
No, I don't know. I'm in a black void.
2 G's, Antiga, Jantija in Malta. That's maybe 5,500 years old. So, Karahan Tepe, and it's a little chamber thing here, and everything that inexplicably surrounds the chamber, shrines, cells, altars, megaliths, audience halls, et al., is vastly older than anything comparable and plumbs quite unimaginable depths of time, back before agriculture, probably back before normal pottery, right back to a time right back to a time when we once thought human civilization was simply impossible. After all, hunter and gatherers, cavemen with flint arrowheads, with regular supplies of grain without the regular meat and milk of domesticated animals, do not build temple towns with water systems, do they? Virtually all of that, what we can see of Karahan Tepe, has been skillfully unearthed the last 2 years with remarkable ease. And although there is much more to summon from the grave, what it is already teaching us is mind-stretching. Taken together with its age, complexity, sophistication, and its deep resident mysteriousness, and its many sister sites now being unearthed across the Haran Plains, collectively known as the Tas Tepler, or the Stone Hills, these carved ochre-red rocks, so silent, brooding, and watchful in the hard-whirring breezes of the semi-desert, constitute what might just be the greatest archaeological revelation in the history of humankind. The unveiling of Karahan Tepe and nearly all of the Tas Tepler in the last 2 years is not without precedent.
These giant stone penises belong in a museum.
As I take my urgent photos of the ominously luring head, Nekami Karul touches my shoulder and gestures behind across the sunburnt and undulant plains. This guy, man. So he goes on and on here and talks about this thing.
Look, let me just be clear real quick for those who are just listening to the podcast. Yeah, they're big rocks, and yeah, they are taller than they are wide, but kind of seems like this guy has something.
He's got his own imagination.
Got a bit of an obsession. But as you can tell from a lot of the other language he's using to describe
he's making
this site
references. Yeah,
he has a very personal connection to this archaeological dig. Apparently,
apparently he did some
little too personal, if you ask me.
Under the pen name Tom Knox.
I'm sure he did.
I wrote an excitable thriller about the first of the Stone Hills, a novel called The Genesis Secret. Which is
excitable thriller? Please.
Okay, so he goes on and on here, and he talks about Göbekli Tepe and what's being unearthed there. And obviously, there's a lot of like ancient alien stuff, and a lot of focus has been there for the last few years. But here's where some interesting things are mentioned here in this article. A few weeks after that encounter, he talks about some encounter by the mulberry tree. News of the shepherds find. Excuse me. Hold on. They got. Okay, so he gets in touch with the German Archaeologist Institute in Istanbul. In late 1994, the German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt came to the site of Göbekli Tepe to begin his slow, diligent excavations of its multiple peculiar enormous T-stones, which are generally arranged in circles like the standing stone of Avebury or Stonehenge. Unlike European standing stones, however, the older Turkish megaliths are often intricately carved with images of local fauna. Sometimes the stones depict cranes, boars, or wild fowl creatures of the hunt. There are also plenty of leopards, foxes, and vultures. Occasionally, these animals are depicted next to human heads. Notably lacking were detailed human representations, except for a few coarse or eerie figurines and the T-stones themselves, which seem to be stylized invocations of men, their arms angled to protect their groin. The obsession with the region is obvious. More so now, we have the benefit of hindsight provided by Karahan Tepe and other sites. Very few representations of women have emerged from the test Templar so far. There is one obscene caricature of a woman, perhaps giving birth. Whatever inspired these temple towns, it was not a benign matriarchal culture. Quite the opposite, maybe. The apparent date of Göbekli Tepe first erected in 10,000 BC. Sure, he used that word.
Tom Knocklesbury, or whatever your name
not
is.
Earlier, caused a deal of skepticism, but over time, archaeological experts began to accept the significance. Ian Hodden of Stanford University declared that, quote, Göbekli Tepe changes everything. David Lewis Williams, the revered professor of archaeology at Witwatersrand University in Johannesburg, said at the time, quote, Göbekli Tepe is the most important archaeological site in the world. And yet, in the 90s and early noughties, Göbekli Tepe dodged the limelight of general public attention. It's hard to know why. Too remote? Too hard to pronounce? Too eccentric to fit with established theories of prehistory? Whatever the reason, when I flew out on a whim in 2006, inspired by 2 brisk minutes of footage on a TV show, even the locals in the nearby big city Sanliurfa had no conception of what was out there in the barrens. All right, he's just talking to the cab driver or whatever. And then
where's the Nephilim, man?
We're getting there. Hold on, man.
Oh, I got a cat on my head.
Let's see. Okay, yeah. So then he's hanging out with Klaus. Okay, he's hanging out with Klaus, and he talks about it. For an hour, Klaus, who sadly died in 2014, generously escorted me around the site. I took photos of him and the stones and the workers. This was not a hassle, as there were literally no other tourists. A couple of photos I snatched to show some pictures with Klaus crouching in front of some ancient, some of the stuff here. After the tour, Klaus and I retired from the heat to his tent, where over dainty tulip glasses of sweet black Turkish tea, Klaus explained the significance of the site. As he puts it, quote, Göbekli Tepe upends our view of human history. We always thought that agriculture came first, then civilization, farming, pottery, social hierarchies. But here it is reversed. It seems the ritual center came first. Then when enough hunter-gathering people collected to worship, or so I believe, they realized they had to feed people, which means farming. He waved at the surrounding hills. Quote, it is no coincidence that in these small hills in the Fertile Crescent, men and women first domesticated the local wild einkorn grass, becoming wheat, and they also first domesticated pigs, cows, and sheep. This is the place where Homo sapiens went from plucking the fruit from the tree to toiling and sowing the ground. Klaus had queued me up. People were already speculating that if you see the Garden of Eden mythos as an allegory of the Neolithic Revolution, i.e. our fall from the relative ease of hunter-gatherer to the relative hardship of farming, and life did not get harder when we first started farming, as we worked longer hours and caught diseases from domesticated animals, then Göbekli Tepe and its environs is probably the place where this happened. Klaus Schmidt did not demur. He said to me quite deliberately, I believe Göbekli Tepe is a temple in Eden. It's a quote I reused to some controversy because people took Klaus literally. But he did not mean it literally, he meant it allegorically. Klaus told me more astonishing things. We have found no homes, no human remains. Where is everyone? Did they gather for festivals, then disperse? As for their religion, I have no real idea. Perhaps Göbekli Tepe was a place of excarnation for exposing the bones of the dead to be consumed by vultures. So the bodies have all gone. But I do definitely know this. Sometime in 8000 BC, the creators of Göbekli Tepe buried their great structures under tons of rubble. They entombed it. We can speculate why. Did they feel guilty? Did they need to propitiate an angry god? Or just want to hide it? Klaus was also fairly sure on one other thing. Göbekli Tepe is unique. Okay, so it goes on. There's one more part here, and that is the kicker. Let me get to it. I know it's a long article.
I'm in it.
Another unnerving oddity is the curious number of carvings which show people with 6 fingers. Is this
unnerving?
Yeah, I like their speculation too. Is this symbolic or an actual deformity? Perhaps the mark of a strange tribe? Again, there are more questions than answers. Crucially, however, we do now have tentative hints as to the actual religion of the people. In Göbekli Tepe, there are several skulls that have been recovered. They're deliberately defleshed and carefully pierced with holes so they could supposedly be hung and displayed. Skull cults are not unknown in ancient Anatolia. You got something you want to chime in?
No. It's just, wow, the ancient peoples were so creative.
Yeah, if there was such a cult in the Tezcatlipoca, it might explain the graven vultures pictured playing with human heads. As to how the skulls were obtained, they might have come from conflict. Though there's no evidence of this yet, it is quite possible the skulls were obtained via human sacrifice.
And skulls can come from anywhere, really. Why are you asking so many questions about where the skulls came from?
At a nearby, slightly younger site, the skull building of Kayanu, we know of altars drenched in human blood, probably from gory sacrifice. Probably.
No problemo. Probably. They got 6 fingers. Somebody's gonna get sacrificed if you got a tribe full of 6 fingers.
So it goes on and talks about some more stuff being buried under the sand in that Turkey in that region. And then it just quotes Klaus Schmidt has been proved absolutely right after he first proposed that Göbekli Tepe was deliberately buried with rubble, that is to say, bizarrely entombed by its own creators. A backlash of skepticism grew with some suggesting that an apparent backfill was merely the result of thousands of years of random erosion, rain, and rivers washing debris between megaliths, gradually hiding them. Why should any religious society bury its own cathedrals, which must have taken decades to construct? And yet, Karahan, too, is definitely and purposely buried. That is the reason Nekmai and his team were able to unearth the phallic pillars so quickly. They all had all they had to do was scoop away the backfill, expose the pillars, sculpted from living rock.
Love it. Okay.
So, okay, goes on and on and on. That's okay. So there's lots of elements. I'm sorry, the bell. Lots of elements to this. So let me take you down the rabbit trail with all this. Obviously, the six fingers.
Okay. Yeah, I thought we were in there. So yeah.
No,
okay. No. Now we're going.
Let me just explain what we're seeing here. Then. Okay. So we have Klaus Schmidt. He's the archaeologist. He's German, and let's see. Was a German archaeologist and prehistorian. And what was it that I found here that was interesting about his work? I'm
a pro-historian. I tell history of the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This guy's not that. He's supposed to be the other way.
It's the other.
Let's see. I can't find what it was. Okay. Well, anyway, let's see where my logic takes me, because obviously I did not go over my notes properly before I did this. I thought I had it all ready to go.
No.
Orientation in German Archaeological Institute. Schmidt purchased a house
got
nearby
6 fingers.
Urfa. I don't think he's got 6 fingers, but yeah. Well, first off, what is up with all these people named Klaus? Doing all this stuff.
Lots of Klauses. Lots of Klaus. Yeah.
Oh, that's what I was thinking. Because he's German, or was, and he passed away. He was German. I wonder if this is kind of like a Nazi man, yeah. Doing
Nazi
the excavations,
paperclip man.
Well, I mean, he would know sort of the hidden...
We all saw Indiana Jones, okay? We know the Nazis are out looking for these giant phallic sculptures to use them to win the war.
Right.
And that they didn't find enough of them, apparently.
Right. Well, so there's some Bible passages about, not making graven images. And, there's ones about covenants and not making graven images. And perhaps that has something to do with the structures at Göbekli Tepe. You know what I'm saying? Like the covenant of the covenant, circumcision.
Yeah.
I think there might be a connection there, but
I think so.
Nothing we need to dig into too hard here. But
if someone was going to make the argument that these are phallic structures, they seem to be phallic structures that had, I don't know, some understanding of the covenant.
Yeah, some spiritual significance, and perhaps it was, I don't know, pushing back against it. Who knows? But there's something more interesting, and this is the location of Göbekli Tepe. And I was jumped on Google Maps, and I was taking a look, and the Crescent Valley, the cradle of civilization it covers over Turkey and Armenia and that whole region in the Middle East. And Göbekli Tepe is actually right above Syria, above the border of Syria, and it sits next to the Euphrates River. And you have a dam up here, and there's a lot of interesting things going on. And so there's some Bible passages in the book of Revelation that are interesting to consider here. The first one that I want to mention is from Revelation chapter 9. Starting in verse 16, then the 6th angel sounded his trumpet, and I heard a voice from the 4 horns of the golden altar before God, saying to the 6th angel with the trumpet, release the 4 angels who are bound at the great river Euphrates. So there are 4 angels bound in the great river, or near the great river Euphrates, or bound at the great river Euphrates. And this article is talking about a buried civilization, like the first civilization, buried in the sands and purposefully buried. It just so happens to be very close. I'm talking, 30, 40 miles to the Euphrates River. And also it sits kind of, I think it's where the Tigris used to be, because, some of those rivers are dried up.
Yeah.
But it's where those 4 rivers kind of all converge, I think, or partially converge anyway. At least the Euphrates is there. So I just thought that was very interesting. In Revelation 16, verse 12, the 6th angel poured out his bowl on the great river Euphrates, and its water was dried up to prepare for the way for the kings from the east. Sorry. I'm doing this out of order a little bit, but back to verse 9 here. Or I'm sorry, chapter 9, continuing on here, verse 15. So the 4 angels who had been prepared for this hour and day and month and year were released to kill a third of mankind.
Ooh.
And the number of mounted troops was 200 million. I heard their number. So this is some end time stuff going on where something gets unleashed from the river Euphrates, 4 angels, and they're allowed to kill a third of mankind.
That's why you never let the Nazis look for statues. You keep them away from all the statues. I don't care what shape they're in. You got to they belong in a museum, and don't let the Nazis get close to them. You hear me? You hear me?
And obviously, and we mentioned it, the connection is the 6 fingers being represented, and this author not knowing what it might be. 1 Chronicles 20, verse 6, and there was again war at Gath, where there was a man of great stature who had 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot, 24 in number, and he was also descended from the giants. And so I believe that we are, be careful there, excavators over there at Göbekli Tepe. You might be helping out these angels that are bound to eventually be released. Or maybe, I don't know, if you're more of like a metaphorical guy or gal, then it's already been released, and that's why the world is so crazy. And, they're just waiting for the full army of the 2 million to
and they may
emerge.
not be statues. Whatever big appendages you find reaching out from the stones, be careful, because they might just awaken.
I remember the Klaus Schmidt connection.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay. X-Men. Are you familiar with the X-Men movies?
Aware of the franchise,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
In the movie X-Men First Class and X-Men First Class The High Hand, Kevin Bacon portrays a character named Sebastian Shaw. Sebastian Shaw was a mutant supremacist with the ability to absorb raw energy and redirect it or augment himself.
Oh.
And biography, in 1944, Sebastian Shaw, under the alias Dr. Klaus Schmidt, was a scientist working for the Nazis.
There it is, folks. We always get there. I don't care how long it takes, how many times we need to refer to body parts that make me uncomfortable on the air. I don't care. We always get there, folks, and that's why you keep coming back to Canary Cry News.
Yeah, sorry, that wasn't as smooth as I was hoping, but we got there.
And you'll continue coming back. You're going to come on back on Wednesday, May 18th. You come on back now, you hear? We'll have another great episode. You know how it is around here. Wednesdays get lit, as the kids are saying these days. I don't know if they say that anymore, actually. Things are moving quick. That's my already
generation.
The day I learned the word chuggy was the day that chuggy became uncool, and so we'll continue to explore in an intellectual fashion the correct cool kid words to describe this show. And you can do so too. You can help the show out in all sorts of ways, folks. I already told you about sending in your art and your music and your everything to CanaryCry.Radio@gmail.com. But I want to thank a couple of producers who are making the world go round over here, starting with our Clippies.
Oh, sorry. I was looking at the Klaus Schmidt thing.
Don't.
Thanks.
Thank you to our clip producers, Emsworth and Faye Liverin, for clipping out the show, loading them all up on the Canary Cry Clips channel, and putting out the call, folks. We got a call here. Some of you might be getting some emails from me as well, but we do need uno más clipper. One more segment clipper. If you want to join the team, it is a well-oiled machine filled with friends and adventure over there at the Clippies Club. Send us an email if you have just even the most basic video editing experience, or you want to learn how to do some basic clipping of videos, go ahead and send an email to CanaryCry.Radio@gmail.com. This is the call. The call has been put out, and you must answer. That's right. One of you right now is thinking, oh no, the moment has come. I knew this time. I knew that the moment would come, that they would need someone with my very particular skill sets. And now you have no choice. You must send me an email and join the Clippy team. So I can thank you every episode. Thank you to our Clippies.
Thank you.
Next up, we got the timestampers.
Timestamp, it's hard work. Timestamp.
That's right, timestampers. They also make the world go around here. Thank you very much to the timestamper from Friday, which was Christine C. You're the best, Christine C. Indeed.
It.
Head on over to CanaryCry.Meetups.com.
Canary Cry Meetup.
CanaryCry.Meetups.com. You can see all of our meetups. They're good meetups. They're the best meetups. They're the biggest meetups. At least that's what I've heard. And you can join into the Canary Cry Zoom meetup. That's right. It's on the Zooms for anybody out there who does not want to leave their cave. That is every third Saturday. That is this upcoming Saturday. So go to Canary Cry Meetups to get all the info for that. Of course, we've got the LA infiltration of the Church of Skaten Skate meetup. Email ladybhats@yahoo.com. Go now. Email ladybhats@yahoo.com. I'm going to put it in the chat right now because all you LA people, you got to get out. You got to skate, man. Go get those alpha boys. They're figuring out times and dates right now. You can also join up with the San Antonio, Texas meetup, always popping on. This says June 4th. Yeah, that's correct. June 4th, Saturday, June 4th in San Antonio, Texas. You got the contact information here. BEM, B-E-M, is, I-S, dead, D-E-D, at yahoo.com. Get in contact so you know where to show up for that. I'm putting that in the chat, too. And we also have the Hollidaysburg, Pennsylvania, July 9th, 2022. Come on, Pennsylvanians, suit up. Time to go meet up. Those are all the fun things going on. There's other meetups starting up all the time too. And if you don't see one that's near you, put one on yourself. Come on, grow a pair and put on a meetup. That's my new thing. You know, the positive reinforcement doesn't work very well for me anymore. So now I'm just resorting to shame. Meet up or else. Oh, get me out of this, please. Rescue me, Gonz.
I didn't like where that was headed.
No, it wasn't going anywhere good, man. Where was I? Oh, I want to thank our producers from this episode. We couldn't do it without our producers, our financial producers, our creative producers, all of them. But if you have not produced the show financially yet, just consider for a moment, what is it worth to you? What kind of value have you gotten? And again, it's not about the amount. It's about, what are you coming to the temple with what God has put in your pocket? And look, I'm not saying that this is tithe worthy. To some people it is, but I'm not going to claim that. But the show only continues when people who get value out of the show put value back into the show. And so thank you to our executive producer, Dame Lynn, Lady of the Lakes. And thank you to our supply dropper, Jesse S. And thank you to the rest of our producers, Morv, Natalie C., Sir James Knight, and Servant of the Lion of Judah, Puddin 2022, Michael B., Alex Protocol V2, Sir Casey the Shield Knight, Veronica D., Gail M., Sir Scott, Knight of Truth, and Jackie U. You might think to yourself, wow, that's a lot of the same names. Some of them I've been hearing every single episode for 156 episodes in a row. And you would be right. These are the people who are regularly keeping this show going. Of course, we have monthly producers. They are extraordinary individuals as well. But no matter what role you play in the infrastructure of keeping this show going, just make sure to participate in the value for value model. It's revolutionary. It is a rebellion against the current economic model of this world, which so obviously does not care about our well-being. So how nice is it to join together with a family, the Canarian family, to keep the show going and, help create something that really means something to all of us. So head on over to patreon.com/CCNT or CanaryCryRadio.com/support.
CanaryCryRadio.com/support.
That's right. Share us on social media too. Booyah, baby. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I got some people to thank. Just put us out on your social media. I don't care what social media it is. Is it Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Chugi Town, whatever the case may be. Share out the show. Taking clips from the Canary Cry Clips channel is a great way to do that. And on that note, I want to thank at The Light in This One, who shared our BlackRock and Citadel deny involvement in Terra Luna disaster clip. Thank you very much. Go follow The Light in This One on Twitter. There was more. Let's see. Over on Instagram, we got a nice mention. Let's see. A nice call out, and it's gone now. Oh, man. I got to learn how to use Instagram, man. No, I'm just kidding. I got to do some scrolling. I thought I had it all perfectly lined up. Let's thank you to Susie Carlin. Susie_Carlin_ over on Instagram. Yes.
Thank you.
And also, thank you to N. Auclair 93, N. Auclair 93, who's posting over on some hot Christian accounts there, calling out people to come listen to the show, and that's always very helpful.
Yeah,
hey, if you found our show because of N. Auclair, let us know. We'd like to give him some sort of prize. Those are all the ones that I can find now because I have yet to instigate some sort of helpful software to help me track you down. But if you post about us, we'll thank you on the show and encourage everybody to come get in touch with you. Other than that, let's see here. You can share the show just with your friends, with your family. Just share it word of mouth. I almost said mouth to mouth again. No, word of mouth is the best way to spread the show. Oh, as well as leaving ratings and reviews.
Oh, that's right.
Oh.
Yeah, you forgot.
Come on. That's right. We're trying to get 5 or more reviews by the end of the week. It'll really help us out. You'll share the show with hundreds of people. Hundreds of people find the show every week when we get 5 or more ratings and reviews. So go to Apple Podcasts, leave a rating and a review, or else Gonz's uncle will be mean to you.
Yeah.
Ugly, horrible person. You must leave review on iTunes. And if you do not, you are ugly, horrible person. You bring shame to family. Ugly, horrible person.
Yeah, but if we do get the 5, then I'll be nice to you. Ooh, woo, baby. That's right. Share it with your friends. Share it with your family. Just let people know that the news media does not have our best interests in mind. In fact, they are almost entirely motivated by both profit and power. So if you want a show that is obviously not motivated by profit or power, Canary Cry News Talk is the show for you, baby. But some people, they don't want to do what I say. They want to find their own way to share the show. We get it. We get it. You want to let your light shine, baby. Don't keep it under a bushel. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to head right on over to the Chick-fil-A headquarters, and you're going to say, Sir, madam, you've seen what McDonald's is doing, promoting the works of the devil. Well, let me tell you, my name is Vladimir Zelensky. My name is Vladimir Zelensky, and I love Chick-fil-A. And
the show has melted down. The show has completely fallen apart. We're almost at the finish line. We just blew out an Achilles just now.
I would like to offer you excellent deal for you sponsor Ukraine, and if people come in on Wednesday, Mercury retrograde day, then I, Vladimir Zelensky, hero of the world, will offer
Oh, what?
I will play
King Z. What are you going to give us?
I will be playing a solo game of Risk. That's right.
No.
An entire generation of American children think my country is called the Ukraine because of Risk. That's the biggest lie that I've ever seen. And I will be playing Risk, this new social justice oriented game of Risk, where they have changed the name of the Ukraine to Ukraine. And let's be honest, dear Chick-fil-A, we all know you need a little bit.
I forgot we were talking to Chick-fil-A.
We all know you need a little bit of positive marketing, because you're not doing tarot cards or anything. There's Christians, nobody likes you. So I'll play Risk. We'll make sure everybody know it's called Ukraine. And okay. Yeah. Now here's the thing. But we'll be changing Russia on the board game of Risk to Canary Cry News Talk Land. And there you go. Share the show, everybody. It really is a Monday, isn't it?
Ukraine, New World Order.
This might have been our first show without Ukraine, so thank you for bringing the little Ukraine before we sign off here.
You don't need to do it that way. You can do it whatever way you want. Just share the show, no matter what. But we like to call it rattling cages. If you need any more instructions, here's what you do. You walk right up to him, grab him out of the cage, and then you shake it.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! Don't ever silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
My body hurts.
Mine too.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for listening to this episode of Canary Cry News. Gonz, do you have any last words?
Oh, no, not really. I mean,
Oh, thank God. Oh, thank God.
Wow. Okay. Maybe I do have something to say.
Thank you, Lord Jesus.
Why are you
binding the tongue?
Why aren't you
ending the show?
Why aren't you doing more episodes
Thanks, everybody for tuning into this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Make sure to tune in next time. But until then, think outside the cage.
We're all gonna die.
This is the way.
We're all gonna die.
This is the way.
We're all gonna die.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Buy!
Can I tell you a sort of a twisted pleasure that I have?
It's okay. No.
Clearing out that lint trap. Clearing out that lint trap. Clearing out that lint trap. Clearing out that lint. Clearing out that lint trap. Clearing out that lint trap. Clearing out that lint trap.
It takes time. A lint catcher.
I love it, man.
Hey, you gotta clean this out. It's like, a lint catcher. It's a great reset. A lint catcher.
I love it, man.
Hey, you gotta clean this out. A lint catcher.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
I love peeling off that big old lint trap, rolling it into a ball, peeling off that big old lint trap, just like throwing it in the trash, really. Should I be saving this?
No.
You could knit it into a scarf or something?
No.
No.
This would make really good fire starter. You are a weird prepper. Hoarder. Like a weird guy, man. Weird prepper. Not normal, like a weird guy, man. Clearing out that lint trap.
No.
Clearing out that lint trap. Clearing out that lint trap. That lint trap. I know it's gross, folks.
A lint catcher?
I love it, man.
You gotta clean this out. It's like, a lint catcher? It's a great reset. A lint catcher?
I love it, man.
You gotta clean this out. A lint catcher?
I love that.
Doesn't work.
I am constantly having to remind myself to wear a pink shirt for the show. Constantly having to remind myself, save the dryer lint, use it as fire starter, knit a scarf, save the dryer lint.
As we know, the food shortage was more or less has been planned for a while, has been known about, has been commented on from the White House.
I heard behind me a loud voice like a trumpet, and it said, "Write down all that you see." I turned to see the voice, and there I saw 7 golden candles, and in the midst of them stood the Son of Man. His hair was white as wool. His eyes were like a flame of fire. His feet were like precious metals, refined and made to glow. His voice was like rushing waters, and his face was like the sun, shining in full strength. In his right hand he held 7 stars, and when I saw him, I fell at his feet. But he laid his hand on me and said, "Fear not, I am the Alpha and the Omega. I died in the flesh, and behold, I live forevermore." Now write down all that you see, that which has happened, and that which takes place after this. As for the mystery of the 7 stars in my right hand, and the 7 candles in my midst, the stars are the angels of the churches, and the candles are those churches. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come to stay with him, and he will stay with me. To the one who conquers, I will grant him to sit with me on my throne, as I also conquered and sat with my Father on his throne. At once I was in the Spirit, and behold, a throne stood in heaven, and he who sat on the throne had the appearance of precious stones. Surrounding the throne were 24 other thrones, and there sat 24 elders, with crowns on their heads. From the center throne came flashes of lightning and rumblings of thunder, and before it there stood 7 torches of fire, which are the 7 spirits of God. All of this rested on a sea of glass, like crystal. On each side of the throne are 4 living creatures, full of eyes. The first was like a lion. The second was like an ox. The third had the face of a man, and the fourth was like an eagle. Each of these creatures had 6 wings and were full of eyes all around. And when they give glory to him on the throne, the 24 elders fall and worship. They cast their crowns before the throne and say, "Worthy are you, our Lord and God, to receive the glory. For you created all things, and by your will they exist." Then, in the right hand of the one seated on the throne, I saw a scroll sealed with 7 seals. A mighty angel called with a loud voice, "Who is worthy to open the scroll and break its seals?" And no one in heaven, or on earth, or under the earth was able to open the scroll. But the 24 elders said, "Behold, the Lion of Judah, the root of David. He has conquered all, so that he can open the scroll and its seals." Then, in the midst of this throne room, I saw a lamb, which looked as though it had been slain. It had 7 horns and 7 eyes. These are the 7 spirits of God, sent out into all the earth. And he went and took the scroll from the right hand of the one seated on the throne. And when he had taken the scroll, the 4 living creatures and the 24 elders fell down before the Lamb. And they said, "Worthy are you to take the scroll and to open its seals. By your blood you ransomed the people for God. You have made them a kingdom of priests to our God, and they shall reign on the earth forevermore."
Children in the space plane.
I'm an adult in a spaceship.
Supersonic space plane screamed to life and the vehicle swooped upward. On board, the passengers experienced a 3 Gs of force from the burst of extreme acceleration and watched the blue sky fade into space.
In the back have been cleared to unstrap.
Oh, yeah.
In the back have been cleared to unstrap.
Yes. Do it, Richard. Do it, Jeff. Do it for humanity.
To all you kids down there, I was once a child with a dream. Now I'm an adult in a spaceship.
He can accomplish it. You can too. Big windows, cool. Rocket ship, cool. Space plane, cool.
Nukes,
cool.
Blowing stuff up,
cool. Space plane, astronaut, rocket ship.
ABS anchor.
We have Bezos. He's a human. Just look at him. Go to the bathroom in bags. He can go to the bathroom in the cosmos. It changed everything. Wives in space, children in the cosmos, with your best friend brother. Wives in the cosmos, children in the space plane.
We are headed to space.
ABS anchor.
I'll keep you warm and safe in my people's zoo.
CanaryCry.Radio.com/support.